The country is headed to the Men's College World Series final. Tennessee offense was clicking and pitching was brilliant as the Volunteers defeated Florida State 7-2 to eliminate the Seminoles and advance to the college baseball final for the first time since 1951. Only took 3 batters for Tennessee to take the lead in Wednesday's contest, and the Vols did not relinquish that for the rest of the game. They scored 3 runs in the first inning and led 5-0 by the end of the third inning. On the mound, Zach Seacrest pitched a brilliant 6 1/3 inning for Tennessee as the Seminoles offense failed to find consistent hitting. Over the holiday, Titans didn't add a player, but their interest was made known in USFL Defensive Player of the Year, Breland Speaks. Speaks is a former second-round pick by Kansas City out of Ole Miss. He's listed as a defensive tackle, but plays outside more often than not, notching over 50 tackles and 9 sacks, which was the most in the USFL. And June 26th, that is next Wednesday. Make sure you make plans to be with us at Game Terminal for RKW. Plenty of foods, drinks, and a giveaway today. So you got to stay listening for your chance to win some tickets for all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will starts right now. Back at it. Live on 104.5 The Zone with Robert Walsh making the show happen. Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Ramon Foster has the morning off. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. I'm back, and the Tennessee Volunteers are in the Natty.
Woo!
Wild.
Look at that.
What a world we live in. It is a beautiful Thursday morning here in Nashville. We've got Coach Mack at 7:20, Mike Monaco, who has been the play-by-play voice on all 3 of Tennessee baseball's games in Omaha, joining us at 9:20. 4 hours to kick off your week again after a holiday for Juneteenth yesterday. Kayla, good morning. What's going on?
What's up, Will? Welcome back.
Thank you.
I feel like, okay, I've got, what are we, 2/3 or 3/4 of
75%.
Yes.
That's right.
We all kind of discussed the sleigh weekend wedding, so that was fun.
Yep.
For the one-day return, because now I do feel like it's Monday, so pardon me if I mess up a couple times today.
I'm with you. It feels like Monday to me,
Monday.
too.
But, yeah, we missed you on, what was it, Monday and Tuesday, and I heard your Bahamas trip was not exactly the vacation type of atmosphere.
No, I'm going to preface all of this with these are all going to sound like really big first world problems. I'm going into this knowing that complaining about any kind of trip to the Bahamas that is paid for by work, not this work, but my other work and freelance gigs doing track and field, is not going to come across very kindly to many of you, because you're going to be like, well, what the heck? You were still sitting on a beach. Like, you can't complain about anything. Those are all fair points. However, I have somehow found the one resort in the Bahamas that is just filled with not even college students, but like high school students. And when I say there were 50 to 75, like 16 to 18-year-olds, that it just totally took over the place I was staying at and made the entire experience completely unenjoyable. That is exactly what happened. Like, I'm talking like every single bar that I was at during the day at this resort was like 4 or 5 deep with just kids that like you go to these resorts, and this was the first time I'd ever been to a resort like this.
Sure.
And
is it like an all-inclusive type of situation?
Totally all-inclusive. So you get a wristband when you check in, which that was a 2-hour ordeal as well, because they double booked like all of the rooms while we were there with another event. So you don't hand them a card, you don't hand them an ID, like you just go up and say like, this is what I want, 5 rum punches.
Wow.
And when I say 5, like I literally mean like you'd be waiting behind these just kids, literally these children. And they would be like, yeah, can I have 4 double screwdrivers, please?
What?
Like just all day. So it was interesting between a lot of like cologne-soaked 17-year-old boys in basketball jerseys with one little thread of their hair braided.
All right.
with like all these little buffets, which were kind of nice. And it was no fault of the people that like got me there and organized it. Like the track people I worked with were great. Like they were very accommodating. They were very happy to have me, like all these things. But it was more the timing of they all left and I stayed one extra day because I went down there Sunday. And that extra day ended up not being the most fun time. So I spent like 2 hours on the beach total. And then just got dinner one of the nights and then sat in my room and watched like the Kentucky Texas A&M baseball game with a drink, and that was about it. So it was fun. Like I can't really complain, but at the same time, not the experience I was expecting.
Not the all-inclusive resort situation you thought it would be. It reminds me of my senior trip to Mazatlan, and we were probably those kids in that resort. Sounds familiar, but I wish it were a better experience.
You got to take advantage of those kids, man.
I knew you were going to say that.
You got to take advantage of those kids. Be like, oh, you guys need something else? And get them good and liquored up. If they're 16 in the Bahamas, there's some good money in those pockets. You need to get them playing checkers, chess, lawn darts,
Uno.
whatever. Exactly. Anything you can to keep those kids drinking, and as soon as they pass out, bam, take that wallet.
Yeah.
Then they're stranded in the Bahamas. They'll never go back. We're going to clean up the Bahamas one way or another. For everybody else that wants to enjoy it, nobody wants those kids there anyway. So if we just perpetuate this myth, kids go down there and have double screwdrivers and lose their wallets. No one's going to send their kids back down there. We need to do this one next trip. You let me know. I will pack myself inside your suitcase, and we will Ocean's 11 these tiny children out of all of their money.
I love that.
Well, they it was offered to me, and no, I'm breaking this news to you guys for the first time on air, and I'm not going to do this because logistically this is not possible. But so I've broadcasted for the American Track League now for 3 years.
Sure.
And they made the announcement on our broadcast Sunday night that they are launching a Caribbean Track League. That is going to be like a meet every Wednesday and Sunday on a different like Caribbean island for like the month of May next year. And they're like, so like you're just going to come spend a month down here in the Caribbean with us? I was like, what?
You're like,
twist my arm, please.
You're going to change your name from William to Wilmon.
Seriously, I know, right?
I
He's
know.
going to come back, Amon.
I know. So obviously, I'm not gonna leave you guys for a month.
I was fully expecting you to be like bronzed when you came back, fully brazened by the sun.
I couldn't
Maybe in a
find
Rihanna story or
anywhere to get sunscreen. So
What?
I literally allowed myself 2 hours to sit on the beach, and I was like, all right, I'm good.
Wait, they don't sell sunscreen?
They
down
did.
there?
I didn't find it until after
God,
I was
gonna say.
already on the beach, and I was like, I was so lazy.
That's always a tough transition too. I leave that stuff up to Cheyenne because if you pack it, it's like an aerosol.
Exactly.
So you can't bring the aerosol. And if you bring one that's too big, they're like, oh, it's too much liquid. So I don't fool with none of that either.
I know what I'm getting y'all for Christmas.
What, the tiny travel size packs of sunscreen?
Nice. The beauty of it though was I was so annoyed that I moved my flight up 3 hours coming back, and as you guys know, that I'm also in the middle of a move. So like anytime I can get to like pack boxes or like I'm kind of doing like an hour a day right now. So I was like, all right, I'll get myself I'll get home at 4 instead of like 8, which seemed worth it. And then the flight I was going to be on got delayed by 4 hours.
Sounds about
that I was originally going to do.
Walsh's
So
experience.
thankfully I got ahead of it, and the spirit moved to encourage me to move my flight up, and I'm really glad it did.
Right?
Really glad.
You can't count on airlines these days. Let's just make that clear to everybody out there.
Correct. Very correct. Bert, I didn't know you got delayed coming back too.
Coming back on the way there, they tried to Shanghai me.
Name it.
The flights were not nice to me. I have another flight next Friday, so hopefully they are not going to hold me up again because that was tough. I sat on the tarmac coming back from Slay's wedding, so you can imagine I was very hungover. Sat on the tarmac for about an hour and a half because of storms.
And that's the worst.
Then you open your window up and there's no rain or anything. It's like, come on, dude, I'll take my chances with the lightning strikes. Just let me off of here. I had a dude stand up. I don't know if I told you guys this part.
No, I don't think
I had this guy wake me up, shake me to be like, can you stand up? And in my sleepy stupor, I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're putting off a lot of heat. Can you stand up to displace your heat?
What?
I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? So I stand up and I'm like, nobody mind me just displacing my heat for this jackass beside me. So we just stay. He was one of these. I don't know what he was doing. I could make a lot of assumptions about him, but the fact that he said displace your body heat makes me think that he's a big nerd.
You should have just lit out a rip.
Yeah,
and been like, all right.
Joke's on him because I was probably farting in my sleep the entire time back. So he was probably also upset about that. That might have been like 50% of the heat that I was putting off.
I did not know that.
So I did find a great "You're Not That Guy" candidate, and I've never thought about this until it happened to me for my 5:50 a.m. flight last Sunday. Guy that opens the window on an early flight and doesn't ask if that's okay. That is something that I will.
And the sun is like piercing your eyes.
Yes, it was a 5:51 a.m. flight on Sunday morning, and I was in the aisle seat, was what I typically decide to do, and there was this couple beside me. This had to have been a couple that was here for Bonnaroo. Just looking at them, they were a Bonnaroo kind of couple. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And this guy's girlfriend or wife or whatever, I hope there's not a commitment there because he needs to get out of it. She opened the window just with no regard, with the sun just beaming. And I had no plan. Like I oftentimes you either, if you want to stay awake on a morning flight, you get the cup of coffee beforehand.
Sure.
You grind it out over the flight. There was no coffee had. This was a full sleep scenario because I can usually sleep on early morning flights. Not anymore.
Nope. Not with the sun piercing your eyes.
I was so mad.
I do not like that either. I'm with you on that one.
What did not make me mad was Tennessee making the College World Series Championship yesterday against Florida State. We'll talk about that coming up next with Coach Dave McGinnis at 7:20 and ESPN play-by-play voice Mike Monaco scheduled to stop by at 9:20. Streaming live at 104.5 The Zone TV, 615-737-1045. How you jump in. We react to Vols and Noles coming up next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson with QC Kinetics. It is the best time of year to get out and do those things that you love to do, whether that be biking or hiking or taking a walk. But it's not the greatest time of year if you are feeling pain in your knees, your shoulders, your back, or your hips. And here is the good news, though. You don't have to suffer any longer. Non-surgical joint pain relief is here, and it is at QC Kinetics. You can call them today. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. And I'm talking about lasting joint pain relief, no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. In fact, QC Kinetics advanced treatments actually harness your own body's ability to restore and repair that damaged tissue so that you can do all those things that you love to do in the summer months pain-free. QC Kinetics is under the leadership of former orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup. He's a true pioneer in regenerative medicine, and now these advanced protocols are enabling tens and thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. So stop putting it off. Take action today and call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. It's 615-249-4024. QC Kinetics at 615-249-4024.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 104.5 The Zone. Kayla Anderson and Will Bowling with you. Robert Walsh is our producer, 615-737-1045. Tennessee is headed to a national championship series. It'll be Vols and Aggies kicking off on Saturday. Where were you in the great year of 1951, the last time Tennessee was playing for a national championship in baseball?
Luckily not born.
Me too, obviously.
No offense to anybody who was born then, but then I would really be getting scared of my birthday every year.
So Tennessee gets the job done yesterday, a comfortable, drama-free win. It does feel like they got all their drama out of the way for Omaha maybe on the first night. In the 12-11 win over FSU, or a decade, I think, was taken off my life. But what do you like the most about this team right now going into the College World Series Championship?
I mean, they're honestly, and I've said this, I think leading into the College World Series, is to be them, right? And to not try to be any other type of, or play any other type of game that they've not played. And if you look at the games that they've played, besides that first one where I guess, Stamos did not have the greatest outing. But other than that, the two other games that they have played, you got a decent, start from both of your guys in terms of pitching and guys that came in for relief. You didn't have to use a lot in terms of pitching. And then you had steady bats, whether that be home runs in even the first game coming back in that fashion, but really just being able to get guys to contribute. Because last night there was one home run and that was all. Other than that, it was just doing the things like we said, getting those doubles, those RBI doubles to bring in runs. And that's what they've been able to do consistently is if they need to play the home run game, they can play that. They can play the comeback thing. I know it keeps people on their seats a little bit on the edge, but they've done that several times this year. And that's, a benefit of this team because they can do that. But if they don't have to do that, they play the type of ball that they've played in other games this season. And I just feel like the bats and the pitching, they just go hand in hand for this team. And if one night one thing is down, the other one picks up. And it's so consistent. And ever since that Alabama series to start the year where they had 2 straight losses, that has never happened again, which is mind-boggling to think about.
It is crazy, considering they've only lost 2 games in a row once this season. I look at this team right now and I don't see a weakness. I mean, legitimately, I don't see one area where you think, all right, they can be taken advantage of. Because for a lot of the season, left-handed pitching was their kryptonite. This team was not hitting lefties the way that they were hitting righties. Now they're getting to the point. I mean, Jamie Arnold, the FSU pitcher on Friday night, they were all over him for that game. Obviously, FSU's bad defense helped the Tennessee's offensive efforts in that game quite a bit, but you're starting to see Tennessee not just be the one-dimensional pull the ball over the right field fence or left field fence. Like, there is a lot more nuance, I think, to their approach, and it's the exact thing I said Friday when I left. Like, I think this team's ability to go the other way and just take an opposite field double or take a long single into the gap is the biggest reason why they are going to be a really, really difficult out. And you look at that rally they had Friday against FSU, is my first chance to react to it now, but like Christian Moore goes opposite field down the left field line. Blake Burke shortens up his approach and just knocks one up the middle to tie the game. And that's Dylan Dreiling going opposite field into the left center gap. Like, this team has got a pretty mature approach at the plate that I think past Tennessee teams really haven't had. And a mature plate in any type of situation, a mature plate approach in any type of situation. Because you're right. Well, in that game on Friday, they could have been worried. They could have been like, oh my gosh, like we're behind. We're really having. It never seemed like they shied away from that challenge. It was like it's almost programmed in them to, well, when we're down, that does not mean a thing to us. We're just going to continue like keeping our composure and doing what we do. And I swear every game I have watched like live this year when that has happened with them trailing, they just come back. Whether it be a swing of the bat and a 3-run home run or
in, a grind situation where they're getting guys on base and bringing a couple guys in. It's incredible. I don't know if I've watched a team like this recently that is that consistent in what they do.
So how much pressure is on Tennessee now going into a championship series against Texas A&M? How much pressure is it to be championship or bust at this point?
I mean, I think they should feel the pressure, but not. You get what I'm saying? Like, they should feel the pressure to get it done because this is by far the best team in the field. And now the remaining team, because you're looking at a Texas A&M team as your opponent in the College World Series final, which, by the way, another SEC College World Final.
Yep.
It's just mind-boggling to me too that they're this dominant in terms of this conference. And I don't think right now I can say A&M, if you look at on paper the situation with them, they've dealt with some injuries. They're still dealing with some injuries. Jace Laviolette last night couldn't even get to a ball because his hammy has been a little bit messed up here the last couple of games. So if you look at like that Tennessee team, what they're doing consistently, and then you look at this Texas A&M team that is really talented and clearly has not lost a game either in the College World Series, but is dealing with the injuries, I think Tennessee is the favorite, and I think they have the pressure to win it, especially if you get to this point now.
Yeah, and Braden Montgomery was the other star Texas A&M hitter who went down with a season-ending injury in the Super Regional round against Oregon. Chase Laviolette pulls his hamstring running to third base in Monday night's Texas A&M win over Kentucky. Was able to still stay in that game and then somehow played last night, which I did not think was a very smart decision, to be honest with you. I think it's one of those things, too, where typically a hamstring like that's going to hold you out 3 to 4 weeks. But obviously at this point, I mean, Laviolette is, for people unfamiliar with Texas A&M baseball, probably going to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 MLB draft.
Yeah, he's that
guy. He's a special player. And you have to be that special of a player to continue through the pain that he is in, because you don't mess with those hamstring injuries. To me, it feels like all the pressure is on Tennessee, but I don't know if they're even going to really feel it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it was hard for me to answer that question, because I don't think they feel pressure at this point.
I think this team has about as slow of a heartbeat as you can have for 18 to 23-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And I loved this quote last night from Tony Vitello post-game talking about the team and where his emotions were at leading them back to his first national championship as a head coach. He said, as far as my emotions, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just following these guys. There are certain tasks I have to do, and there's directions I give them, and they'll listen. But Tony Vitello says, kind of following them right now makes it nice. It just feels like this team has that championship DNA in it, and they have all season long. And that's the biggest difference you feel like between this group and the 2022 group. I heard Ben McDonald of ESPN say this on the broadcast yesterday, that they don't appear to be as emotional, as in your face. Yep. There's not as much flipping the bird to outfielders. There's not as crazy the bat flips. There's not, strutting off the mound quite as much when you strike somebody out. I just feel like they don't get as high in the big moments, but they also don't get as low in the low moments. And it's that kind of mentality. You don't win a championship just based off of mentality and based off of maturity, but when you're already the most talented team left, it does feel like that's going to put Tennessee over the edge, and they're going to be able to win 2 games this weekend.
Look, I no doubt feel like emotions, when you look at an overall way of getting things done, emotions can play a part of things at this point. And especially when you arrive at the College World Series and you're one of the SEC teams that's representing, and the other side is ACC, and you're clearly a team that has made it here before, but you've come up short. Yeah. And all those things that come along with it, when you're doing it for the first time, or when Tony Vitello came here, a couple years ago and did it for the first time, like, things are so new, and your team is still kind of like finding ways to hold themselves to that business-like mentality in a place that is so new, and a team that's not been there before. Now you've had guys that had been there before, right? Not a ton of them, but there have been guys that can kind of set that tone. Tony Vitello has obviously been there. He kind of knows what to expect out of himself as a coach and how to navigate that. And you're right. This is a total different team from the ones that still got the daddy hat and the coat. But the way that they kind of win games, even last night, it wasn't like they were all like crazy happy because they made it to the College World Series final. They were kind of just like, okay, business as usual, shaking hands, let's go. And I think sometimes that can really benefit you as a team overall when you hit this point. Because like you said, there's no highs and lows. It's just steady Eddie. Even if you lose a game, it's like, okay, we're going to get back on track. I think a lot of the times, newer teams or teams that haven't experienced this, there is emotions that start to play in those situations.
Nate Snead, Tennessee closer after the game, was asked about his emotions post-game. He said, honestly, kind of normal. It's another win, and we got a few more games left. Nothing is finished, so we are pretty excited for what is next. Cal Stark said something similar, said, job is not done. We've played 3 really good games so far, so keep it rolling going into Saturday.
Sounds about right?
I mean, they're saying all the right things, and we'll see whether or not that translates to the field. And I think on Friday they were a bit tight in the field, despite looking really loose and really confident at the plate, which was kind of odd, like the way that they were just booting really easy defensive plays. It is kind of crazy. You watch this tournament, though, and as you know, Kayla, having watched the sport for so long, like, you'll see some crazy catches, and then you'll see a guy just boot a grounder.
Sure.
I mean, it's the range of really, really good defensive plays and really bad defensive errors has just kind of always been a part of college baseball. But my goodness, Kavaris Tears yesterday in center field again with like the Jumpman logo catch on the Creighton logo in right center. Kavaris Tears, Dalton Connect running through Creighton. They both did it because that was an unbelievable play last night.
And we've seen it from them, throughout this tournament, sprinkled in, not just this team, but other teams. You're right. Even when a guy maybe isn't having the best day at the plate, and then he goes out there and has a major defensive play, like that kind of stuff matters, right? I mean, any way you can contribute in the College World Series, it's going to play a role in that game. And we saw it a couple, the last game with the play in center field where he ran in, I'm like spacing his name already.
Hunter Ensley.
Yeah, Hunter Ensley. Thank you. Hunter Ensley, where he ran into the fence and left the eye black, on there. It's just, they lay it all on the line. And why not? This is the ultimate, goal, is to get to this point, not only to get to it, but win it. And I feel like the Vols have played that role so well. They're not going to be perfect every time defensively, but I think you're right. I think it is part of the game, but you're probably going to make up for it in another situation.
So I saw yesterday, Ben McKee of Go Vols 247 tweeted this out, that if Tennessee wins the national championship, they will be the first team in SEC history to win 60 games in one season.
Yep.
They're at 58 with 2 games to go, which the win yesterday breaks the record of 57 set by that legendary 2022 team. 60 games is so many baseball games.
Yeah.
That's
a ridiculous amount of wins. Really crazy to think about, especially in college baseball, especially in the SEC. Let's put that all into perspective now. Not only is that a lot of wins in college baseball, no matter what conference you're in, but now you're talking about it in a conference that is clearly the best conference in the country. Oh, yeah, by the way, you continued to, I know they've faced only ACC teams up to this point in the College World Series, but now you're going to face another SEC team to finish the year. When I looked at that record yesterday, Will, and saw 12 losses, I believe 12 losses is what it is.
58 and 12.
12 losses in a baseball season, folks.
A&M, who's 52 and 13.
That does not happen often.
Yeah. It's crazy. So it's an all-SEC final for the second straight year, for the third time in 4 years as well, going back to Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. Crazy that, again, we get to this point. Texas A&M gave Florida their first shutout loss since 2022, another Texas A&M Florida game in the 2022 SEC tournament. And it's a cool story, too, because Jim Schlossnagle, the A&M coach, was at TCU, was there with Tony Vitello. Those guys go way back.
Yeah.
We're on the same staff together. at TCU at that point. And Jim Schlossnagle, I think, is one of the most likable coaches in college sports. He is an authentic guy. He's a super, super nice guy. And he made Omaha 5 times with the Horned Frogs, and then twice now in his first 3 seasons at Texas A&M. This is a heavyweight matchup in every sense of the word.
I love it. I think you're right. What he's done, really great stuff there. And they've been one of the best teams all year in college baseball, as well as Tennessee. So to have these two meeting in the College World Series final is very fitting and in a way not surprising. And I know anything can happen in this tournament in Omaha. And, you know, we note the year that Ole Miss barely scraped into the NCAA tournament and end up winning it all. I mean, you can note Florida in this.
Right.
Florida was not a great team this year, but kind of in the Ole Miss fashion, found ways to push their self into the tournament. And not only that, Will, but I'll give them credit. They worked their way pretty hard into this tournament and were playing from the comeback situation the whole time, but give them a lot of credit to get to that point. So I just think, again, it shows so much of the dominance of this conference. We talk about football all the time, you know, and I've covered a lot of conferences across the country, Big Ten, Pac-12. I've never covered a conference like this that just continues to get better. Like, it's not going backwards. And so congrats to all you SEC fans, because you're in the best position as a fan, whether it be baseball, football, whatever, basketball, because this conference is completely dominating sports right now.
It's crazy. You look at the stats, the numbers between these two teams. A&M ranks 49th in the country in batting average. Tennessee 17th. Tennessee obviously has hit the most home runs this season in college baseball, 177 of them, second most all time in the history of the sport. A&M has hit 45 less home runs, yet still has the 5th most home runs in college baseball this year.
That's wild.
Which is a ridiculous
Hey, what's
gap.
Tennessee at? Because what was LSU's record?
So I believe their record is 192.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, Tennessee is at 177.
Wow. Okay.
So going to be difficult. 188. 188 is the record.
Okay.
So 188 during the 1997 season. If Tennessee hits 11 home runs in this final series, then they will tie an LSU team that had vastly different equipment and bats in 1997 than what they use now.
That's a wild one too. I know it's a little far off, but you never know.
It's crazy. I mean, the way Tennessee hit against FSU in that first game. I mean, well, I was texting our group text last night. I was like, all right, so how does Christian Moore top what he did Friday?
It's hit for the cycle.
He's got to hit for the home run cycle.
There
now.
you go.
Grand slam, 3-run shot, 2-run homer, solo shot.
Dang, wouldn't that be amazing?
Ridiculous. 615-737-1045. You can react to anything for the last 48 hours in the world of sports. We'll hit the headlines for you coming up, where there is a special rule in one sport for a legend, and we remember a legend who passed away since we last spoke to you, in legendary center fielder Willie Mays. That's all coming up next right here on Ramon Caleb Will. Wrapping up hour one on your Thursday morning, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, and there is a special rule in place now for a legend. I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. The PGA Tour Policy Board has approved a new lifetime achievement exemption for Tiger Woods to play in every signature event on the PGA Tour for life. You cool with this?
Yeah, I am, because it's Tiger Woods. And there's not many athletes that you can say have catapulted the sport to that level, that when you even probably ask a person that doesn't watch any golf, if you said, who's Tiger Woods, what sport does he play? Golf.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
I mean, he has earned every bit of that. And I don't know how much more we get to see from Tiger Woods in terms of his play in the future, because I think he is just like trying hard to play in a few a year in terms of majors because of that back and the stuff that he's gone through with his body. But if he wants to play in any event at any time, sign me up. I'll watch him play.
Yeah, I'm all for this. What I think would be really interesting, because it's a lifetime exemption.
Sure.
So at the Masters, you have Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, and Tom Watson, who this past season were the honorary starters.
Yep.
Like in their 70s and 80s. I want to see Tiger Woods play a tournament at like 75. Like, It's not going to happen, obviously, considering all the back problems that guy has had. But like, I want to see how far Tiger Woods can push the lifetime part of this, because I feel like we're going to get to a point where Tiger will no longer just play majors, and maybe he just picks one tournament a year, or maybe it's half the majors. Maybe it's the U.S. Open and the Masters. Or maybe, look, the Masters is such a hard golf course to walk. Maybe it's certain courses when they get to a place where he feels like it's local for him or regional, and it's a course that he likes and things of that nature. But I feel like we'll get to a point where we're just going to be, 20 years down the road, and Tiger's just going to randomly hop in one event just because he wants to.
Yeah. He might be bored one day and saying, hey, the body's feeling good today.
100%.
And I'm going to play in the U.S. Open.
I think this is best for professional golfers who are on tour, because Tiger has influenced an entire generation of golfers, and especially American golfers, to be golfers. And Scotty Scheffler and Max Homa and Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, and like there's this whole generation of guys that grew up idolizing him that now are so good for the U.S. because of him. So as much time as Max Homa, he's been one that's been very vocal of like, no, Tiger is like my idol. Like, as much time as those guys could get around him, like, they are all for this, I would imagine.
Oh, they love it. I mean, you mentioned all those names that have honestly even come after, the Ricky Fowlers and the Jordan Spieths, and they're, huge in terms of 100%. What Tiger's been to their success, and, being able to pick Tiger's brain. And it's clear that he makes his mark on golf, whether it be the new generation or, even guys that played with him, and just what he meant to the sport and elevating it to that level. Man, I don't know if there's ever going to be somebody that translates the game like that, even when maybe we're, like you said, 30 years down the road. And we still talk about Jack Nicklaus and those guys, and they've definitely made their mark. But I think Tiger, just to another world level, has done it.
Yeah. Since we last talked to you as well, legendaries, San Francisco, New York Giant center fielder Willie Mays passed away Tuesday at age 93. The man, Ken Griffey Jr., once called the godfather of center fielders. Generally considered, in my opinion, guys, is, I think, one of the 3 best baseball players of all time.
Yep.
And the legacy of Willie Mays with the 660 home runs, the catch in the Polo Grounds in center field. He was 54 less homers than Babe Ruth on the all-time leaderboard, but the guy went to war in 1952 and all of 1953, and without that break, is probably the home run king of Major League Baseball as we sit here today. He started his career in the Negro Leagues. This is a guy who, Kayla, is just a giant, no pun intended, in the game of baseball, and this was really sad news on Tuesday night.
Man, this was you said one of the best to ever do it, at least when you're looking all time, and I'd agree with you. I think whatever he did at the plate, whatever he did defensively, he did it extremely well. And it's amazing to think about these players that we did get to celebrate so much of their life, because he was 93 when he passed, not yesterday, but the day before, right? Because we celebrated him on June 19th, which I actually did. As much as it pains me that we're losing a guy like this, we got to celebrate him at his most yesterday. I thought that was really incredible to hear all the stories that were told by Ken Griffey Jr., who is my favorite player of all time. That was the guy, one of the guys he looked up to, the whole name for the kid. That kind of translates to, Griffey and his whole thing of, we know him for being the kid of that generation. And so it's a really sad day. And I remember I got to see Willie Mays when I covered the All-Star game that was in Cincinnati several years ago. And Willie Mays was one of the guys they brought out and introduced to them.
Nice.
And it was so amazing to see him firsthand. Just thinking my goodness, he did this for so many years, went to war, like you mentioned, came back. It's crazy, to what they went through, what's different from nowadays. And these players, that's all they do. So a great one. He will be missed, but the stamp that he put on that game, we're talking about golf, he put that stamp as well on the game of baseball.
Finished with 660 home runs, so 54 fewer than Babe Ruth, like I said. Before he went to the Army, he averaged 41 home runs per 270 games. So his first season coming back, after that point, he averaged 73 home runs per 270 games, which was the amount of games he missed from 1952 to 1953. So if you split the difference and say he would have hit 56 home runs in that 270 games on the average of how much he was hitting when he came back, he would have had 2 more home runs than Babe Ruth and would have had 716.
Dang.
And would have still been behind Hank Aaron, but
right, which is a legend in himself, right?
But when you talk about the defense mixed with the bat,
Yeah.
the ability that he had, for me, the best players in the history of baseball are Willie Mays, Ted Williams, Babe Ruth, and Hank Aaron, and pick your order of those 4 guys, and it's those 4 and then everyone else. Before steroids, before all these other things that have clouded the game of baseball, Willie Mays is an absolute legend and really sad for baseball. But 93 years old, that guy lived about as awesome of a life as I think you can, for sure. 615-737-1045 is our number. Coming up, we'll start hour number 2 as an ESPN analyst has graded the Titans offseason. He's got a move that he likes the most, and the move he dislikes the most is interesting to me. We'll give you the rationale behind it coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Y'all, have you ever had a contractor supposed to come to your house within a time frame and they not show up and got you waiting around all day long, just wasting away your day? Well, you don't have to do that with Hiller, okay? When you call them, they will set your time, be very prompt about it, send you a text message, call you potentially, let you know when they are showing up, just to give you a heads up like, hey, we're coming to your house. So if you're at work, just go home. We'll be there when you get there. I promise you that. But not only that, this month, you can be a happy camper with Hiller with 0 interest financing for 24 months on select HVAC systems, generators, and tankless water heaters. Or just simply take advantage of Hiller's $99 drain cleaning special. Take care of your home systems before the peak summer temperatures hit this weekend. Supposed to crank up a good bit, so you know that AC is going to be working in overdrive. Make sure you have Hiller over to check it out for you. Visit happyhiller.com today for details.
What's going on? 7:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh, the number one team in the country, headed to the Men's College World Series final. Tennessee's offense was clicking early behind some great pitching for the Volunteers as they took down Florida State 7-2 to eliminate the Seminoles and advance to the college baseball final for the first time since 1951. It only took 3 batters for Tennessee to take the lead in Wednesday's contest, and the Vols did not relinquish it for the rest of the game. They scored 3 runs in the first inning and led by 5 by the end of the third. Over the holiday, Titans didn't add any players, but their interest was made known in USFL Defensive Player of the Year Breland Speaks. Speaks is a former second-round pick by Kansas City out of Ole Miss. He's listed as a defensive tackle, but plays outside more often than not, notching over 50 tackles and had 9 sacks, which was the most in the USFL. And if you don't have plans, June 26th, come hang out with us. Game terminal for RKW, plenty of food, drinks, and today, your opportunity to win some VIP tickets. You just got to stay in and listen for your cue to call. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m. and hour number 2 on your beautiful Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome in to Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh makes the show happen. Ramon Foster has the morning off. And Coach Dave McGinnis is going to join us coming up in 15 minutes. Your phone calls all morning long at 615-737-1045. If you had a Juneteenth holiday off from work yesterday, then you're like us, and today feels a little bit like a Monday. And that's all right, because it's a Monday of a 2-day work week. You're going to skip from Monday straight to Friday tomorrow.
That's what I love about it. I might be a little confused, and I got some times mixed up yesterday, let's just say. A lot of my friends and family are on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Let's just say I mixed up Pacific time and Central time. It like flipped. Don't even ask me. That's how messed up I am because we had a Wednesday off. So let's just hope tomorrow, like you said, we get back to the normal feeling of a Friday.
So ESPN.com and analytics writer Seth Walder writes off-season grades for every NFL team. Does not have a super negative grade for the Titans. Seth Walder gives the Titans a B for all the moves they made this offseason. And within this, they have got biggest move that he liked, and move that he disliked for every team in the NFL. Biggest move was trading for L'Jarius Sneed for the Titans. Move that he liked the most was signing center Lloyd Cushenberry. Move that he disliked the most, quote, failing to trade down in the second round. What stands out of those 3, Kayla? What is fair and what do you maybe disagree with out of those options?
Yeah, overall, Will, if I really look at this, I agree with a lot of it, and I'll start with the biggest move. I do think this is the biggest move, and we were doing this on Monday, Will, when you were out, the move that could pay off in terms of the biggest dividends, right? Sure. And I picked L'Jarius Sneed and talked about why, and so I would agree. The biggest move, I think, is, in fact, getting L'Jarius Sneed. I think a lot of people didn't know for sure the Titans could make this happen. And I think in the past, we've been used to the Titans signing guys that were big names, but not necessarily able to do much more in their career. And if you look at this guy in L'Jarius Sneed, it looks like he's still going to be able to play at his highest level. And I know there are the injury questions coming into this. I'll believe it when I see it, because everything that has been pointing to him in the past is he still plays the games, right?
Absolutely.
Whether or not the practice is exactly every day or not, he's playing games and he's making a difference. So to me, he is probably one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL right now, and the Titans now have him. For the move that I liked the most, I would agree. I think center Lloyd Cushenberry was a great move. I think that was a crucial move, and a move that really does help go forward in trying to solidify this line. I mean, think about it. It's the center, center out. Think about fixing it from the inside out, and you kind of help a lot by doing this, by adding Lloyd Cushenberry to that line. But I would also say I loved the move of Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I agree.
I loved that move. I think, that's more than like for me. It's a love, because I just feel like he is so versatile in what you can do with him. Like, you can utilize him in so many ways. I think just having that chip on his shoulder, he's ready to continue to prove what he can do after having the year off before he went to Jacksonville.
Sure.
I think, he's not the highest paid wide receiver. And we were even talking about, that's a lot of money at the time. He's not even close to being, top 5. I mean, what is he, 11 or 12?
Yeah.
In terms of highest paid. So now you got a guy that you kind of got for, if you look at it, a really good deal compared to some of these other deals that are happening. And then the move that I disliked the most, I would have to say overall, if I'm looking at what they've done, because I like a lot of the things they've done, that was my biggest thing. I just, the 3rd round pick where you could have possibly traded down, got a 3rd round pick and found still value in the 2nd round later, I would agree with this. I think maybe taking T'Vondre Sweat early in that 2nd round and then missing out on a 3rd round pick, and we still don't know what exactly it is going to look like because we have not seen him in the mandatory minicamp or OTAs for the most part. I think that's just a question mark. So that'd probably be my biggest dislike.
Sure. I think it's interesting. So Seth Walder writes on ESPN.com, quote, "My biggest gripe about the Titans offseason is that they didn't trade down in the draft. In the 1st round, they stood pat at 7 to take J.C. Latham, but you must wonder if they could have worked out a deal to move down with a QB-needy team such as the Vikings, Broncos, or Raiders." That, I think, is a bit more unfair.
Yeah.
Because they've won me over a lot more than I thought they would on J.C. Latham.
100%.
And I think having now seen the work ethic, the improvements that Latham has already made, I think the Titans made a great pick in J.C. Latham. Doesn't mean that he's going to be great in year 1. It means that I think over the course of his rookie contract, I think he will put himself in a position to be given a 2nd deal, and it helps to be coached by maybe the best offensive line coach in the league. Says Walder continues to write, more egregiously, the Titans took defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat in round 2 at pick number 38, one spot before the Rams gave up a 5th round pick and a 2025 2nd round pick to move from 52 to 39. That deal was likely also available to Tennessee. Have you changed your opinion at all on T'Vondre Sweat now that you've seen so little of him in rookie minicamp and in OTAs and mandatory minicamp? Like, if he was available for all of those practices, or let's even say 3/4 of those practices, would you have a different opinion of him right now?
So, Will, let me bring it back to before the draft.
Sure.
And I am one of those people, because I've covered this team for a while now. I've seen the Isaiah Wilson situation. I'm one of those people that, yes, I am a little skeptical when things have happened in the past, not worked out, and there are signs. And not every player, sits there and goes backwards. A lot of players learn from their mistakes early on in their careers. Things turn out better. So sometimes it's worth the gamble. But I am a person who sometimes plays it safe. So my initial reaction to this pick at first, was I don't love it. But then we started to hear about the thing in terms of getting to know him and giving him a shot and really believing in him. And because I trust this coaching staff, and because I trust Ran and Brian, I was like, okay, I feel better about this pick now. But when you look at the past month or so where we've had, access to go out there and cover this team, He clearly has not been out there. So it's hard for me to right now build on my opinion and say, yeah, they're exactly right. He's going to be this, that. Yeah. And this is what I see out of him. We had a brief meeting with him in mandatory rookie minicamp where we saw him once on the field. And I love the character that he is. And I think he has all the tangibles. But until I see him on that field, consistently, because he's a rookie, he needs to be out there every single day. It's hard for me to continue to form my opinion on him until I see that. Right. So right now, I have to continue to say that's probably the move that I'm still questioning the most, because I was also a very heavy advocate of trading down to get a third-round pick. And Rand Carthon said himself after the draft, we had several offers in the second round to trade down, and we did not, because we felt like T'Vondre Sweat, if we didn't get him, we were going to miss out.
Yeah. I think for me still, T'Vondre Sweat's skill set is so rare with the size and the pass rush ability he has at 360 plus pounds that if there was someone else that wanted to invest their draft capital in T'Vondre Sweat between pick number 38 and pick number 52, you aren't going to get that kind of player just laying around there in the middle of the draft. You probably would have gone to a different position at that point. Maybe you would have addressed inside linebacker at that point of the draft in the second round. I still like the pick, and I still think it was the right move. And in order for the Titans to build their way back up in the AFC South, they're going to have to take some risks and hit on them.
Absolutely.
And Jeffrey Simmons was a massive calculated risk in 2019. It was one of the few first-round draft risks that John Robinson made that worked, but it certainly worked in a really big way. Mm-hmm. And at times, you have to take those opportunities within the right context. And I think putting a guy next to Jeffrey Simmons and allowing your best player on your team to be in the same vicinity on and off the field as your biggest risk, that is where you can afford to take the risk for me. And similarly to the way the Titans already had Jarrell Casey when they brought in Jeffrey Simmons, it wasn't like that was going to be all right, well, now this position is going to be awful if Jeffrey Simmons doesn't hit. You still had Jarrell Casey at that point, even though they only overlapped for half of one season. To me, the worst move they made, and we'll get more into this tomorrow, I think it's a longer discussion we can have, is the lack of attention to the right tackle position. And for me, that is where I go to. And you could make the argument, okay, well, maybe they could have taken a right tackle then in the second round instead of T'Vondre Sweat. I think those are all fair arguments, but I think it's a larger discussion to be had about how much the last month of Sweat not being out there because of a minor injury matters. Because I think there's context we don't know. How much is Brian Callahan and this coaching staff saying, we would rather have you behind closed doors? This is something that you could practice with, but we'd rather just have our eyes on you one-on-one anyway. Mm-hmm. Because that could be the case. This could be a minor enough injury where he could easily be on the practice field and they are saying, nope, we're good. We'd rather just sit you down over here and let's work on some things one-on-one and you need to lose some weight. Or it could be something that's a legitimate injury. That's information we do not have.
Yeah, and you know what? To tell you the truth, I don't know if we'll ever figure out exactly what it was. I really don't. I think that this staff is new. They're finding the middle ground of how to kind of even work with us in terms of the media. I mean, this is Brian Callahan it's his first time being a head coach.
Right.
And he has the right to kind of know how he wants to do things. So he's going to probably work different ways of how he's going to let us hear as much as we want or as less as he wants us to hear. I mean, it's just going to be, I think, a process for the first year of how we see things or how much we're hearing. And so I think it's completely fair on their part, too. Like, they don't need to tell us anything.
Yeah.
But I think at some point, and I think in training camp, that's why they're not worried. I think they know that come training camp in 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks now.
July 23rd.
Yeah, that they're confident he's going to be out there. And look, do I hate the move? I don't hate the move. I just think they've made so many good moves in the offseason. Yeah. It's hard for me to pull out of a lot of the moves that I didn't like. But this is one still that has a question mark for me until I see him out on the field.
We'll bring Coach Dave McGinnis into the discussion coming up next. Details on what off-season training programs look like for players on their own at this point of the off-season process. We'll bring in Titans Radio's head coach coming up next.
Upgrade her diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Don't miss this killer offer from Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Not just on engagement rings either. Also on earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry, pre-owned Rolex watches. Buy now and pay nothing down and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 gift comes out to just $85 a month. And that luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner, Datejust, or Explorer starts at $150 a month. I was just there on this past Friday. All right, y'all can go by there and check them out. But this is an insane offer from the jeweler that always is finding ways to bring you more value. All GA certified diamonds are included in this. Rounds, princess cuts, ovals, pear shapes, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Whether you get that $5,000 diamond or a $50,000 diamond, you can spread your payments over 5 whole years. Lab-grown diamonds are included in this as well. You get the Genesis value price on anything. You can spread your payments over 5 years. But hurry, this is a limited time offer that ends June 30th and will not be extended. Genesis Diamonds, they're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs. Details and more at genesisdiamonds.com.
Thursday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, and Thursdays at 7:20 here on the show. We are joined by Titans Radio's head coach. He is Coach Dave McGinnis, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Will. How you doing this morning? I'm doing great. Just got back from a little mini caravan yesterday with Titans Radio. Took a film crew with us and went down to Tracy City to the Dutch bakery. It's been there since 1902. Got a tour of that, and it was only outstanding. Then got back, loaded up back up, and went to down the road a little bit, about another half hour, and went to Chattanooga. Went to the Titans fan club down there. Did an OTP with them, and then ate, and got back about 8:30 last night. It was nice.
I love it. Coach Mack, I was going to say, this series that Amy Wells and Mike Keith are doing with the Follow Me through Tennessee and going to these small places around the state, it is awesome. And Chattanooga's got a lot of Titans fans. Like Chattanooga, just in general, an underrated city, not only in the state, but just in the South.
Yeah, we were at City Brewery. I mean, it was loaded up. It'll be like we took a camera crew with us and did an OTP, and it was good. Yesterday was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. As I said, took the camera crew, so it'll be posted whenever they do it. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and people are fired up. I love
it. Coach Mack, this time of the year, I feel like we always have this conversation about what players are doing in this gap between workouts and training camp. When Brian Callahan talks about the specific workout plans that position coaches will give their guys and strength coaches will give their guys, what does that look like, say, from the linebackers coach perspective, which you know very well? What kind of details will a position coach give a player for this month gap until training camp?
Well, coming from the strength and conditioning staff and the speed staff, they've added a lot of people to this to that part of the program. Now, they will get position-specific workouts that they will do every day as far as, to build up to the time that they will come back here. And then positionally, the coaches will construct things that they can do, within the weightlifting and the aerobic stuff that they're going to do, just position specific, footwork things, change of direction things, short burst drills, things that you think that you will need to do. And I know what we did. We encouraged them, of course, to do it. Put your cleats on, the one you're playing in, and do these position specific drills. And it's a gradual build up. The first thing that they're told to do is get some active rest, while they're gone, and then they'll start digging into this probably within the next 10 days after they completely leave, because you need a time. The athletes need a time for their body to recover, not completely shut down, but you'll call it active rest that they need to do. But everybody has got their plans specifically, to them, curtailed to them. And the other thing is that the strength and conditioning staff is here the entire time. So those players that wish to stay here, and those players that live in town that wish to come up and do their workouts there, they can also do that too. So it's but they have expanded that staff quite a bit. But I know just back at the time when I was coaching, even when we would do that, and especially with guys that you can tell, that's where the having this time that they've had together, whether a guy's rehabbing an injury or whether a guy has gone through some things, they can kind of form things to what they want each individual to work on, and then there'll be a conditioning test when they get back too, and so they'll have a ramp up, build up to that conditioning test too.
Coach Mack joining us on RKW. Before I get to my question, we did have Chris Long on here last Friday, Coach. He did say to say hi and that he might have plans to come join you in training camp. So just wanted to put it out there for you.
Thanks, Kayla. Yeah, I talked to C. Long. I guess probably 3 weeks ago during camp. He and I talked during the off season. That's one solid dude. He's doing a great job with his podcast now, and but Chris Long is one of the more intelligent dudes that I've been associated with in all of my years of. A very, very interesting person. really, really, really solid human being. I told him, I said, he's mentioned something about wanting to come to Nash Vegas, and I told him he had an open invitation with Coach Mack anytime, so he'll be showing up here.
I know. We were excited to talk to him. He had some good things to say about the Titans, of course, defensively specifically, and had mentioned, Coach, all the things that you've been saying, which is no surprise when you talk about Frank Bush, when you talk about Denard Wilson, and just the way they present themselves and the expectations they have, even in practice. He said, that's no surprise. I can see Denard Wilson is doing the same things he did as a coordinator, an assistant. He's still having those same tactics out there as a actual coordinator now too. And that's kind of just getting involved, making sure the details are taken care of at that moment before moving on.
Yeah, C. Long, was a first-round pick of the Rams, and when Jeff Fisher took that job over, and we went to St. Louis, he was one of the mainstays that was still there. I mean, they had won 15 games in 5 years when we went in there. I mean, they weren't good. Oof. But C. Long was one of the mainstays in there. He and James Laurinaitis that we kept, and then we reworked that defense much in the mode of what Denard is doing here now. And the one thing that Chris Long, when we had him, we had Robert Quinn at the other end, and then we got Aaron Donald, and we got Michael Brockers. And we turned that front loose and let that front go play, and we got pretty decent defensively pretty quick because we put that defense together to beat Seattle. That they were rolling. They were who you had to beat in the NFC West then, and so we were able to do that. I think 4 out of 6 times that we played them, and with those defensive guys. But the main key was like what Denard's doing here is winning there with that that defensive system. It was with Greg Williams that, of course, myself and Fish had been involved with, anyway. But what it does, it turns the defensive front loose, and it's not like it's unorganized or disorganized. I don't want people to misinterpret that, but there's a way that you can play freely as far as, especially as a defensive front person, not be encumbered with a whole lot of things and be able to use a lot of your natural ability. That's when Chris Long really started to thrive. And then when he left and went and collected a couple of Super Bowl rings, this guy was really, really a good football player. But I think he benefited from that, and he said that quite a bit before. A lot of those players did. So he would know. But as I say, to me, it's important, and it took us a while. It's not an instant get, but it is an instant get where the players realize, if I learn the basics of what is going on here, and this defense is very detailed. And there's a lot of things that you can do with it. But the big thing that you learn with this defense for the players is it's very adjustable, and you learn to associate things same as, even with different personnel on the group, the way you can adjust even prior to the snap as to what the offense is doing. It really turns them loose a lot. And Chris Long was a huge beneficiary of that.
When it comes to this Titans defensive front, we spoke a little bit this morning about T'Vondre Sweat, and although we didn't get to see him a lot in terms of OTAs and mandatory minicamp, they, in terms of Brian Callahan at least, was saying we're going to have him ready, and training camp is in obviously several weeks now. But what will be the expectations for a rookie coming in who a lot of presume will be a starter? What will be the expectations for him since we didn't see much of him out here?
Well, I was there every day. I know. I mean, he's going to be ready. I was there every day. And of course, there's things that I can't talk about either, or I wouldn't be able to be there every day. But the fact is, this guy's going to make a big difference. I mean, he's going to play opposite. In that defense, you've got a free technique, you've got a shade, and he's going to be a shade inside. And the misconception about him is, I did a lot of work on him in this draft going in. He's a 3-down player at Texas, and and in this day and age, when you've got to collapse that center guard triangle, this is a dude that you want. And the times that I saw him on the field, which was but before they took him inside. I mean, this guy's gifted, and so he's going to be a big part of it. It was a smart move, doing what they did, because the key is to have this guy ready for training camp. And I think really, if we'd have been during the season, I mean, he'd have been out there. So I would say people just keep your powder dry on this big dude. He's going to be fine.
Coach Mack with us, presented by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, we learned last week as well that there's going to be essentially work retreat between Will Levis and his wide receivers, and Will has made it a priority to continue to be in town with them and throw with them and work with them during this break. What is the significance of that to you, of having your quarterback with his wide receivers in town and continuing to get work in at this time of year?
Well, I mean, the thing about those positions, that I mean, it's for the big guys. When a lot of what they do, excuse my voice, I've been talking all day yesterday on the road with Titans radio. When you put the pads on is when they really can do a lot of their work. Now they can do a lot of technique work, but when you're throwing and catching the ball, I mean, you can go out and do a lot of that. And so what they've had is all of those guys have been together here now during the OTAs, and they will just continue to work on those types of things. I mean, it's important, but it's more important. Here's what's more important, Will, than any of that. It's the fact that the players are taking ownership of this team, and it's their team, and some of those types of things that you see in this day and age, especially the way that things when you're turning over 34% of your roster, and especially when you're having a major reset of your roster like the Titans have gone through this year, it's important that they still spend time together. They spend time together, and so I would think that that's not only beneficiary, it's a beneficial thing, but it's also an essential thing right now.
Coach Mack, we always ask about how players and coaches spend this time of the year in the offseason. More importantly, maybe we should have asked, how does Coach Mack spend the month leading up to training camp? Like, how much football are you watching? I know you've got OTPs, and the OT people need the content on the Official Titans podcast, but how do you spend these weeks, Coach?
Yeah, well, I went to Chicago. I'm going to do a Pat Tillman Honors Foundation thing in November.
Nice.
In Chicago. I just got back from Chicago, and then I'm leaving again. I'm going to do some. I'm going to go down through Texas and go to Phoenix and go to LA. I've got some clinics that I'm speaking at. I've got some people I'm talking to about some other broadcast opportunities to do some things. Anyway, there's a lot of Coach Mack stuff that goes on in the off season. But the thing that and I've already started to watch. I watched Seattle's offense a little bit because that's where the offensive coordinator came from for the Bears this year. So I want to be ready for that. It's kind of like when I was coaching. Just about the time that the 4th of July is over, about the 3 or 4 days after that, that camp is going to be on top of you. So it'll be here before we know it. But I take a little time away from it because, and I think we're going to start recording. Doug Matthews, I think sometimes we're going to start recording the next few weeks on our first couple of episodes of Coach to Coach. So it never really stops.
I love it. Coach Tate McGinnis joining us every Thursday morning here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, the most interesting man in football, every 7:20 here on Thursdays. Coach Mack, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach. Hey, guys, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. We're going to see you at training camp pretty soon, even before we know it.
Yes,
It'll be here quick. Absolutely.
See you guys.
Bye.
Okay,
there
bye.
he is, Coach Tate McGinnis, with us here this morning, doing Coach Mack things, as always.
Right, and sacrificing his voice for the good of the Titan fan base.
I love it. Honestly, I feel like a 50% Coach Mack voice is still better than most people at 100%. And I don't even think he's much better than 50%.
I mean, like if we're just talking to people that we've had for the first time on our show, and Chris Long, and he mentions Coach Mack name, that just goes to show
crazy. This
man reaches from the West Coast to the East Coast, maybe even worldwide.
Absolutely. Coming up, there is some breaking Vols news to tell you about when we come back. We will do that. There is a Nashville SC win to discuss last night, and RKW VIP tickets that'll get you food, drink, and gameplay with us at Game Terminal next Wednesday night. We've got a couple of VIP tickets that you can win coming up.
Hey, it's Kayla and Ramon from our friends at Window Nation. So I was taking a peek the other day, to be not named, but windows at a certain place, and could see, the mold, could see the water, and was thinking, okay, this definitely is somebody who needs new windows. And our friends at Window Nation right now can help you out if you're dealing with those situations where you can't open them properly or they're not staying open. They're extending their semi-annual sale, 50% off all window styles, plus 0% interest for 5 years, and an additional bonus if you actually schedule an appointment this week.
No doubt about it. And all they do are windows, okay? Installed over 200,000 windows last year. That's 40 times more than the average window company, with 96% of them having no follow-up service. As Kayla just told you, weather impacts your windows. So if you have any issues with condensation, you touch them, they're hot, you touch them, they're cold, guess what? Get Window Nation over it. And you can call them at 866-90Nation or go online to windownation.com.
Rolling right along in hour number 2 of your Thursday morning, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 615-737-1045. Kayla Anderson and Will Bowling hanging out with you until 10 o'clock. And next Wednesday, we will be hanging out with you at Game Terminal. If you've never been to this place, first of all, it is awesome. 3 bars, a massive warehouse of arcade games. It is Nashville's largest arcade. You've got over 250 games spanning 40 years, everything from Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, Mario Kart. Like, you're going to get into a seat and drive with a steering wheel, a Mario Kart cart. NFL Blitz there as well. You've got outdoor games like shuffleboard and cornhole. We are hanging out there Wednesday, June 26th, next week. We're going to be broadcasting live from 1 to 6. 3HL going to hang out with us after it wraps up. We have got some VIP passes that are going to get you free food and gameplay, a goodie bag with drink tickets, and more. This is essentially a free night out.
Perfect. On
Game Terminal and 104.5 The Zone, and we've got your chance to win right now if you're caller number 5, 615-737-1045. VIP passes for next Wednesday night's Arcade W, including free food and gameplay, a goodie bag with free drinks, and more from us and Game Terminal. Plus, you can challenge us to pinball, classic arcade games like Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, Mario Kart, NFL Blitz for chances to win prizes. 615-737-1045. That's 615-737-1045. And you got free food and arcade games and everything that you need in a night out with us next Wednesday. Best of luck.
Yes. And it's a hump day, so why not start the week?
That's right.
A little earlier.
Absolutely
right. Earlier, I should say.
We're looking forward to it. What is the arcade game you will be most excited to play next Wednesday?
Well, you mentioned Mario Kart.
100%.
So I love anything where I can get in the seat and drive really fast and actually not get a ticket for it. So I'm in on that. I also love the old school Pac-Man game.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something that I'll probably have a little nostalgia with. And then the other games that you can play, like the air hockey, all of that stuff, I'm going to be in on.
I love it. There is a very involved Fast and Furious racing simulator kind of situation as well. That is like you get in a little car and drive it there. Like, I'm telling you, if you guys don't have anything to do next Wednesday.
Because you went and saw it firsthand this last Friday.
I saw it last weekend. This place is so cool. It is really, really cool. So we're going to have good food, good drinks, and a lot of fun next Wednesday night. And even if you don't win the tickets, which it looks like Bert has a winner, the phone lines have lit up like a Christmas tree. It is free to attend next Wednesday night. So you can just come hang out with us, take some quarters, and just get a bunch of tickets and play some games. It's going to be fun.
Looking forward to it, guys.
So Tennessee has just gotten a commit on the offensive line. It is someone we have discussed with Austin Price now for weeks, as Jefferson County Patriot offensive lineman Nick Moore has committed to the Vols. VolQuest's Matt Ray talking with him, a guy that is coached by former Vol Spencer Riley, who was also an offensive lineman for Tennessee back in the day. A guy that is already almost at 300 pounds, projects as an interior offensive lineman for Tennessee. This is a guy that Vanderbilt has been all in on for months. I think maybe the greater part of a year. Mm-hmm. Tennessee saw him at camp, has swooped in now, and in the last couple of months, he was originally looking at West Virginia. Brent Hubbs telling us on Friday that he backed off of a potential commitment last week to West Virginia, was on campus over the weekend, and now will be a Tennessee Vol.
This is a really fun one to talk about, too, because, and look, a guy that still has room to develop, right? And you can look at him in terms of, maybe why he made this choice, maybe felt this was the best place for him to continue to develop as a player and to, find a place on this line in the future as a starter. You talked about West Virginia and Vanderbilt, and they were, according to On3, our friends over there, were the favorites until you mentioned Tennessee came in here late minute and swooped him up. And that's exactly what they did. When he made his visit, I don't think it was this week. Was it this weekend?
This past weekend.
It was this past weekend.
Visit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm all crazy on my days this week. But that was a huge recruiting weekend for the Tennessee Volunteers. And when Austin Price joined us on Tuesday, he kind of mentioned some of the guys that came here and what they thought about the visit. And he was one that clearly had a huge visit. We saw the picture with him and his family after that, looking quite happy. But looks like he just really enjoyed the time with the other guys, with the line coach, Coach Ellerby, and said he felt he was very genuine in his approach to everything. And I think that's been the things that we've got back feedback-wise from these recruits and this staff is it's just a genuine feeling when you go there. It's not like they're trying to do too much to say, hey, you got to come to Tennessee for these reasons. It's almost like they're like, this is who we are. This is the family atmosphere we've created. If you feel like you're a fit, then we want you here. If not, we're not going to try to do anything extra to try to bring you here because then it probably won't be a fit. So I think he thought this was a fit where he could continue his development.
Yeah, not bad. A future center for Tennessee, an option for them after Cooper Mays departs following this season. Elsewhere in headlines over the last 24 hours, Nashville SC tonight goes to, or last night, goes to Toronto, picks up a 2-1 win. Dramatic game where Nashville conceded the first goal. It was the first time since May 29th of last season that Nashville erased a halftime deficit and won the game. Sam Surridge with 2 goals, including one in the 90th minute. And under interim head coach Ruma Muntali, Nashville with only 1 loss in their last 6. They have now won 2 road games under their interim head coach and looked really good in the second half last night. Lucas and I were on the call from it. Game up there in Toronto. Big win for the boys in gold.
Is it speaking of Surridge, is it safe to say since the coaching changed that they've surged? Was that the right word?
They've surged up the leaderboard.
There we go.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to bring the two together.
Well done.
No, but I mean, what is it with when maybe replacements take place? And I know he's not the head coach technically yet, but he is the interim. Is it just a new life that it gives players? Like you're seeing it firsthand now, covering this team.
Sure.
What is it to that?
It's interesting, some of the adjustments they've made. So Ruma Muntali took over when Walker Zimmerman came back from injury. So those two things were lined up. And Nashville has kept 5 clean sheets. They have, 4 shutouts in their last 7 games. They had 1 the entire season leading up to that point. So that's been a big difference. Getting Walker back has been huge. But really, you just get some new ideas and new energy in a sport where, like baseball, they are in the dog days of summer.
Sure.
Nashville SC is right now. They're in another 3-match week. They just started the second half of their schedule last night in game number 18 of the season. So 16 games left for NSC, starting with Saturday night. Quick turnaround at home against NYCFC. But really, Ruma Muntali is just giving them the freedom to just take some chances and make some mistakes, and that's all right. And you've seen a really kind of new energy come into that team that is common when you have an interim head coach, but especially with this team, that's been, the words that Ruma Muntali has said to us is like, I just want guys to be the best versions of themselves, and then we as a team collective are better when that's the case. It sounds really simple, but oftentimes it really is that simple in a sport like soccer. So
yeah, I love it. I love to see it.
Big win and a huge one coming up Saturday night. If you haven't gotten tickets, it's a great thing to do this time of year. There's not football. There's not anything else.
Right.
To go
that's
to
the
city
other
of Nashville.
professional sports that's going on.
Absolutely right. So Saturday night, we'll have the call for it, of course, on the Zone, myself and Lucas, and looking forward to a big one against a very good NYC team that is coming to town Saturday night. But coming up next, we will shift the conversation back to the week's big headline. Tennessee is into the College World Series Championship. There's one turning point of their season that happened not that long ago that tells you why they are still playing. We'll get you a preview of the championship matchup with the Aggies as well coming up.
801, what's going on? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The number one team in the country headed to the Men's College World Series final as Tennessee's offense was clicking early. Some great pitching as the Vols defeated the Florida State 7-2 to eliminate the Seminoles and advance to the college baseball final for the first time since 1951. It only took 3 batters for Tennessee to take the lead in Wednesday's contest, and the Vols did not relinquish it for the rest of the game. They scored 3 runs in the first inning and led by 5 by the end of the third. Over the holiday, Titans didn't add anybody to the roster, but their interest in a particular player was made known in USFL Defensive Player of the Year, Breland Speaks. Speaks is a former second-round pick by Kansas City out of Ole Miss, listed as a defensive tackle, spends more time outside than he does inside, notching over 50 tackles and 9 sacks, which was the most in the USFL. And June 26th, we just gave away some tickets. You got another chance to win tomorrow. But if you don't have plans for next Wednesday, make sure you do with us at Game Terminal for RKW. Plenty of food, drinks, games, and all the competition you can want. I can beat you in shuffleboard, cornhole, whatever you guys want to play. Come out and see us. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show as the show goes on your Thursday morning. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW 104.5 The Zone. Robert Walsh is the man making it happen behind the glass. Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you for 2 more hours this morning. Ramon Foster has the day off. Brad Hopkins will be in with us tomorrow.
That's right.
And next week.
We hope.
Ramon is mega loafing. And I say that because he told us that he's listening to the show this morning. So
I wonder if he went back to sleep.
We don't miss you at all. Gosh, isn't this show so? People in the chat all morning have been saying the show is just so much better without O-line talk.
We hope you miss it,
Ramon. You can just replace the R for Ramon and make it Robert.
Yeah, Robert, Kayla, and Will.
Get rid of him.
I love it.
Look at that.
Another person, you talk about Brad being in. Somebody that's going to be in today with 3HL, Will Levis.
Yeah.
Dang.
I might have this wrong. A whole hour?
An hour in studio.
Wow.
Man.
I'm going to have to stick around.
Should we all just bust in and take over the show? I mean, why not?
I think if we just stayed back here in the studio, like the Peanut Gallery, just hung out back here with Zeph, that would be a lot of fun too.
Right? Like the paparazzi, we'll have our cameras out.
Just talking Slay's ear the entire time as he comes back from his wedding extravaganza.
Oh, God. I wonder if he is still not recovered.
Oh, here's something. If you don't know this about Slay, he is a professional.
That's true.
He is better at anything that involves a wedding than anyone I have ever known. It would not surprise me at all for him to be in here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to throw Will Levis in the boom boom room today.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for that.
Slay is hurt, not injured. That is the way Slay is on the hurt, not injured category, where he will play hurt. He will not be injured and miss a show as important
He's
as
like
this.
J.C. Laviolette for Texas A&M, I guess, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Just playing out there trying to make something happen with a hammy.
With one hamstring yesterday, J.C. Laviolette and Texas A&M get the win over the Florida Gators. 6-0, the first shutout loss for Florida in 2 years. The last one also came against Texas A&M. The 8th time that both teams in the championship series are from the same conference. And of those 8 times, 6 times now, it's been 2 SEC teams to make the national championship. Overall, in this weekend's Omaha festivities, or this week's, the SEC went 5-0 against ACC teams.
It's incredible. It's not even a fluke. You can't even say, oh, yeah, well, it's just a coincidence. It's happened a few times. Like, this is now becoming a major storyline that, again, if I'm from another conference, I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, how do we get the SEC out of these championship games across the board in terms of sports? Like, good luck with that.
I know. And it does feel like with Texas and Oklahoma, too, they're only going to continue their stranglehold on baseball and softball specifically, because obviously Oklahoma has four-peated in softball. Texas, despite that, was the number one overall seed. That was the championship series in softball, were the two teams that are joining the SEC. And then Texas has quite the tradition in baseball. I think it's 2005 or 6 the last time they won a national championship. Oklahoma is always good. I think they were a top 16 national seed this year and didn't make it in the super regional. They were one of the teams that got upset, but that's two more A-plus baseball brands that are joining a conference just full of A-plus baseball brands, and someone who's going to have their first national championship. Texas A&M has never made the College World Series Championship Series, so this is a first for them, and Tennessee has not made it since 1951 when they lost to Oklahoma in the national championship game. Back then, it was not a best 2 out of 3. The guy that threw out the first pitch, the ceremonial first pitch in that game, General Robert Neyland. True story.
What?
Robert Neyland threw out the first pitch in 1951 of Tennessee, Oklahoma.
That is wild.
Yeah. Interesting, since the May 22nd loss in Hoover to Vanderbilt, Brent Hubbs wrote about this at VolQuest.com last night. Tennessee is 12-1 since that loss. In those 13 games, they have outscored their opponent 112-59. That is scoring 8.6 runs per game and allowing 4.5 runs per game. Kayla, I think the impressive part of that is that half of those games were played in either Omaha or Hoover, which are cavernous, large ballparks that are pitchers' parks. Tennessee is scoring 9 runs a game, and half of those runs have been scored in mega ballparks that are very different than their bandbox they have at Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
That was the criticism that people were, at least that's the one thing they could kind of try to dig up to say, hey, Tennessee doesn't, have the best shot at winning it all in Omaha, possibly because they're this home run hitting team and they play in this small ballpark at Lindsey Nelson Stadium and la, la, la. And that just got completely shut down. It started in Hoover, but more so in Omaha, specifically in that first game when they had to come back in a big way by being able to hit the long ball and doing it where it looked effortless at that point.
Right.
You can't say that now. You cannot say that. It's hard to find an argument of why this team can't win a national championship now that they've gotten to this point in the final and they have not lost a game. So it's incredible. Like you said, they don't just have to hit home runs, though. I mean, they can go oppo field. They can, get the double, whatever it is to make it happen. They've proven they can do it.
I think for this team, I always felt like if they made the championship series, they would win the whole thing.
You said that on Friday.
I did. I said Friday, if they win game 1, they'll make the championship series. If they lose game 1, they won't. I thought it was that simple. It's why that Friday 12-11 win over FSU was so stressful. And I feel like took a year off my life and many others wearing orange. I think this team's biggest chance of being knocked out was their pitching depth beyond Xander Sechrist, Drew Beam, and A.J. Causey being exposed a little bit, where you would had to have gone to the freshman Dylan Loy from Pigeon Forge and the freshman and Marcus Phillips, the local product Andrew Binke, who had a huge moment for Tennessee where he struck out a guy lefty on lefty against FSU and gave Tennessee some really big innings in that game, a really big inning in that game against FSU. But that's the weakness for this Tennessee team is the pitching depth beyond their third guy. Sure. And that's the weakness for most college baseball teams, to be fair, right? Mm-hmm. Like, in order to win a national championship, someone that has not been elite all season has to essentially be elite. For me, that guy is Xander Sechrist. And he has been a complete revelation for Tennessee because he was excellent yesterday. And FSU hit the ball really hard. They were unlucky in a lot of the ways. They just hit the ball right at people. But this stat is crazy to me. Xander Sechrist has now pitched at least 6 innings in 4 of his past 5 starts. So he allowed just the 2 runs on the final 2 batters he faced off of 3 strikeouts to 1 walk, 74 pitches in the game yesterday. But he has had a career high in innings, like 3 of his last 4 outings now. And going 6 innings in college baseball is a lot more difficult than going 6 innings in Major League Baseball. Yeah. That's significant. Being able to give your bullpen that much relief now going into the championship series. Aaron Combs has not had to pitch since Friday for Tennessee. Tennessee's best reliever. And you've got all the horses ready for what I think is going to be a national championship weekend for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what benefited him a lot too, was you put yourself as a team in an excellent position to save some arms by getting some really good innings out of, not only Seacrest, which he has been phenomenal in that, third starter role, but also from a guy who joined our show last week and Drew Beam, almost getting 6 out of him as well. I thought that was phenomenal. Bouncing back from a postseason that hasn't been really great for him. I thought that was beneficial for the Tennessee Volunteers. But you're right. Now you're in a series where you've saved a lot of arms. You've gotten a lot of rest because you've been able to win those games and you haven't had to play coming back from any type of loser bracket. And you're taking on an A&M team that, yes, is also 3-0 right now in Omaha. However, we've brought this up, and we brought it up at the start of this segment with Jace Laviolette being one of those guys. Right. They are a little banged up, and they've done a good job to this point being able to hide a little bit of that. But now they're facing the best team in the College World Series. Not a team that is, trying to come back from any rest. They're in the same position as A&M is, but a lot healthier, and I feel like just in a better position overall to win this thing.
I was curious, too, if yesterday the fact that Tennessee had the extra off day would be kind of that,
lull,
rest versus rust factor. Was certainly not the case, first of all. And then, B, I do like that both teams have the same amount of rest going into Saturday.
100%.
I would have obviously, I would have loved A&M to have to play another game today against Florida and be taxed a little bit more, but they were always going to beat Florida. I mean, Florida had a magical run a la Ole Miss a couple of years ago, and they were not, though, the complete team that A&M is.
No. We've been talking about A&M and Tennessee in the top, 5 all year long.
Going to be fun. Saturday, 6:30, first pitch of Tennessee's first College World Series championship series since 1951.
It's pretty special.
Crazy. Coming up, the RKW Draft is back, ladies and gentlemen. We will have a new winner because Ramon Foster has to be present to win, and he is not present.
And I almost got that draft, guys. I almost got it.
It was like 33.5% to 33.3%.
That's wild.
Coming up, though, we are drafting best things to do when sports aren't on, because we're entering the calendar of the year where a lot of sports aren't on. And we're going to draft those coming up next. Hey, what's going on? It is Will Bowling. If you are running a fast-growing business in Nashville, you got to listen up. Netsuite's Business Grows Here event is coming to Nashville next Tuesday, June the 25th. Don't miss it. Why Nashville? Well, because Netsuite knows Nashville is a hub for entrepreneurs with forward-thinking founders, a top talent pool, and pro-business leadership. You got to apply to attend the business event of the year. Business Grows Here, taking place at the Conrad Hotel on Tuesday, June 25th. You'll learn how Tennessee is paving the way for new business growth and capital. You'll see how technology, fueled by AI, is shaping the way we grow and run our businesses. And you'll be inspired by leaders who have built and led billion-dollar businesses, like Jamie Simonoff, founder of Ring Video Doorbell, and Burke Nihill, CEO of the Tennessee Titans. NetSuite by Oracle, Business Grows Here, is free to attend if you qualify. So apply right now to find out, because seats are going quickly. Block out your calendar, Tuesday, June 25th. Apply right now at netsuite.com/Nashville. That's netsuite.com/Nashville. Our number 3, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 1045, The Zone. Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. Robert Walsh makes the show go. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the RKW Draft. This is installment number 3 of the new league year for us. And Kayla's got 1 win, and Ramon has 2. Today's draft will not feature Ramon Foster. He is loafing. He is off until the week of July 4th.
My time to gain ground.
It is.
See, I wish he was here because I feel like he would have no answers to this week's draft.
That's true.
When there are no sports, he would be like, take your kids to more sports?
That's what I was just going to say.
Youth baseball.
So maybe it's good that he's not in this one because he might not be able to win it.
It's fair. So today's topic, at Ramon Kayla Will, is where you can interact with the show on Twitter. I will continue to call it Twitter, even though I know it's X. And if you are unfamiliar with this, typically we do this at 9:20. We've got ESPN's Mike Monaco, who has been on the play-by-play call for all of Tennessee baseball's games in Omaha, coming up at 9:20. So we have shifted this segment forward an hour to 8:20 this morning. This is a 4-round snake draft, where we go in order of the way the standings from the last draft went. And we will just pick a topic and then draft what we think are the best options within that topic. So we've had best appetizers. We have had the best fathers for Father's Day. Now we do best things to do when sports aren't on. And I'm once again interested to see how creative or just chalky this draft board is today. So I feel like we've got a lot of options today.
There are. You can go detailed. You can go broad. You can do whatever the hell you want.
You can pander, which I've tried to do now and which has not worked. I'm no longer pandering to you, the people. I'm just going to pick what I think is the best pick.
I'm telling you, I've come in last in every single draft, I think, and it is the way to go. I don't care if you guys vote for me. I'm drafting who I want on my team. I have to dance with these people. This is who I'm drafting.
I love it. All right, so Kayla gets pick 1. I will take the second pick. Robert, as he just told you, continues to be our caboose.
He likes those double picks.
I do love the double picks.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you guys don't clean my board out in these first 2.
I know.
It's like a Big Mac.
All right, Kayla, take it.
Okay, so we talk about this a lot when we're in our breaks of what shows we are lining up next and next and next. And the best time to actually binge on shows that you want to watch or even rewatch if you'd like, if that's your style. This is the time to do it in the more so sports off season. So binge your show. Binge your shows.
That was the clear number 1 overall.
Easily 101.
Not even close. That is.
I was hoping Kayla would be like, I don't know, darning socks. Like anything other than watching the damn shows. You've taken it. I only have 5 things written down, by the way. So now
I've got like 10.
Okay.
Now my board is as flat as it can be. So if Will takes one of these, I'm going to be scrambling. Like, last pick, open a pet shop.
Yeah.
Nice. So I have just, it is crazy the amount of things that I watch when your Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays and Sundays aren't taken with football.
I know.
Because football is the thing that I'm most likely to watch as a neutral. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not likely to just sit down and watch a random baseball game. Like I love baseball, but I'll watch a Braves game.
Sure.
But I'm not likely to sit down and watch Cardinals-Cubs. Actually, Cardinals-Cubs is a bad example. That's kind of a fun game to watch. But the point stands that the amount of shows I've gotten to watch this time of year, The Bear is about to come back out. We were just talking about that off air. House of the Dragon, season 2, episode 1 was excellent. Excellent out of the gates over the weekend. I've gotten into Your Honor recently with
on
Bryan
Netflix.
Cranston.
Yeah.
So this is a Showtime show where essentially the premise of it is you have a judge in New Orleans. I know I'm getting sidetracked. This is a long way to wind up to my second pick. A judge in New Orleans, his son is involved in a fatal hit and run and has to deal with the consequences of it as a judge in the city of New Orleans.
Is this a movie? It's got to be a show. You're watching
Yeah,
it.
this is
Oh,
a
wow.
show.
I'm in on it, dude.
Yes.
I'm all in on that.
So it's like
Season 2's out. That's the one you're watching.
Yes. So there's 2 seasons out on Netflix. I just got logged back into my Netflix yesterday, and it is fantastic. I'm only 2 episodes in. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, the judge gets involved in all of, like, the lies to, like, cover it up. And there's another element of it I won't tell you because I won't spoil it, but it's Bryan Cranston. So it's literally like Walter White all over again, where you have, like, a tragically flawed character who's, like, looking out for his family but also doing the wrong thing. Anyway.
Sounds good.
Really,
It's got Hope Davis in it. She was in About Schmidt, the Jack Nicholson movie.
There you go.
Which is what a random pull that
Nice.
is. But.
All right, so that is pick one. Great pick by Kayla to begin proceedings. I'm going to go with my clear number 2 pick. That is golfing.
Yep, knew it. That was coming.
Golfing is the clear pick for me. Summer golf is very hot. That's okay, though, because, again, I love playing golf in the fall when it is moderate outside. But then there's NFL Red Zone, and there's 7 hours of commercial-free football, and college football Saturdays that demand my attention because college football games are 4.5 hours. Golf, number 2 for me.
Solid pick.
Like it.
I'm not good enough at golf to have that on my list, but a great pick nonetheless. Because, I mean, it's essentially like you get to do the sport. How many sports do you watch on TV that you can actually go out and do? Like, nobody's lining up in the backyard sans Ramon Foster being like, all right, hike it, come on, run a play. Like, golf is one of the actual, like, fun things you can watch and do.
Because you can drink beer and stuff.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's like you get a 2-in-1.
Yeah.
So I got a back-to-back here. For my first one, this is, for unathletic people, this is our sport.
Okay.
This is what we do. We are not good enough to go play golf or frisbee golf with your buddies. We're not going to be called on the golf course, play anytime. What we do is we play video games.
Yep.
You hop on there with your buddies. You hop in a chat. My friend's new thing has been, I am a big scaredy cat. So my friends continue to make me buy scary games where you have to escape a haunted orphanage or find out why this ghost is mad. And they just watch me scream and panic. And really enjoying that. But I'm going to go video games with my first pick. My second pick, something that I'm a big fan of. Again, not pandering here. This is what I do. Saturdays, if you're out in the Hermitage near the airport area, you will see me doing this. Antiquing. Or as I like to call it, mantiquing.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys have ever been, it's the Holy Trinity here.
Is this garage sales? Yeah.
Yard sales, thrift stores, estate sales. That's what you're looking for. See, and the difference is yard sales, you get to have the first pick of other people's things.
Yep.
They just put it out in the yard for you to look through and pilfer. And you could look through, Grandpa Chip's war medals are out here, 50 cents a piece, don't mind if I do. Estate sales, they're selling every gun their grandpa owned for 50 cents on the dollar. I'll take it. Load them up. And Cheyenne's like, do we really need another liquor cabinet? Yes, we do, baby. Help me get the heavy in. Come on, girl. That's why you got a strong back. Help me out. So I'm going antiquing, or as I affectionately, I think Brandon Walker coined this term, but I stole it for myself. Mantiquing is my second
I love
pick.
It. I really like that because you got creative with it, but I also think there are a lot of people that love to enjoy different hobbies.
I like looking through people's things.
Yes, as long as you're not picking up nasty stuff, which sometimes maybe some things can get in there that you don't want to touch. But I will say this, I think you should create your own show. I know there's been some shows in the past. I think some of them were based right here in Nashville. You should do like the Burt Antique Show, like have some clever name.
Sure.
I would be in for that. Or the yard sale.
We could do a swap shop. I would 100%. If the powers that be are listening, I will host a swap shop.
Do it.
On the weekends, right after Doug Matthews goes off. If you guys are not familiar, a swap shop is when people will call in and say, hey, I got a lawnmower out here in Donaldson for sale. It's only got one working blade. I'll take $25 for it. And then I would list his number, and anyone that was interested would call him to purchase said lawnmower.
I love it.
It would be my pleasure to host a 104.5 The Zone swap shop.
It's like Facebook Mark, but on radio.
100%.
Perfect. Boom. Book it.
It comes down to the Burt Marketplace.
I like it.
Exactly.
So those are my two picks.
I like it.
Will, you are back up.
All right, so this pick is something you can still definitely do during football season, but there are more opportunities in the summer I'm going to be more broad here, go to concerts.
There we go.
That is not the
good
time.
idea.
If your significant other, Peyton, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I don't really mean it. It's fine. If you're brought to concerts on Saturday nights and Sunday afternoons in the fall, there's football on at that point. However, the CMA Fests, the Coachellas, the Bonnaroos, this is peak concert season. This is time for you and your significant other to go to as many concerts as you can, see live music, preferably outside amphitheaters, things of that nature. I'm not breaking any news to my girlfriend. She knows all of these things that I believe in here. Going to concerts.
That's
to me,
exactly
my second
right.
pick.
Great pick.
Yep.
Great
and it's
pick.
a good time for like weather because at night it's not as hot with the sun, going down.
100%.
So it's great for those outdoor venues too, which we know are all around Tennessee.
And plus, we're in the best spot to be.
Yeah.
Like, if you have any smaller artists, like, chances are, if they're from the South, they are going to come here, and they are going to play Brooklyn Bowl, and you are going to be able to get in and watch them for an affordable price.
That's right.
I saw Eric Andre, not a concert, but a comedian
Oh, my goodness.
was at Brooklyn Bowl, or is going to be
Really?
there. I was like, that's just crazy to me. Eric Andre, hosts a TV show. But either way, love the concert pick.
I like it.
Like it. So something that, I have not been able to do a lot of since I've moved out of the Northwest. And I know there's spots here to do this, but I'm a little bit of a diva when it comes to this because I grew up with a lot of natural lakes. But something that I always talk to Titans players about and seems to be something they love to do the off season. If I had, maybe the place to go do it, one of my favorite fishing holes was back in Idaho.
Do it. Dadgummit, Kayla. Come on.
Fishing.
Come on. When's the last time you went fishing, Kayla?
So back when I lived, like I said, in the Great Northwest, and I lived up back in my Spokane neck of the woods, my second full-time sports job before I got married. And so yes, I have several fishing holes up there.
Nice.
But I used to do it with my grandpa growing up.
Solid.
That was when I really did it.
I have been poached. I have been bamboozled and run astray.
Just like a fish, baby.
My pick has been stolen.
I'm thinking about going next year down in Orange Beach and going on one of those
Charters?
because after the fish that I saw them pull out, I said, yo, baby, I want to go do that. And I want to say I caught that.
It is
That's right. I caught that.
A ton of fun.
Yeah.
A ton of fun.
Kayla, you got 2 in a row. You're up again.
Oh, I am?
Yep.
Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to say is something that might seem so basic, guys. But y'all know, like, when it is peak season, it is really hard to do for people that are sports fans.
Yep.
And really juggling 4 different sports. It's very hard for us as morning people that have to get up.
Okay.
After watching a, series or a game that goes until midnight. We don't get a sleep. So, damn, when it's the off season, folks, and there's not a lot of sports on that I have to at least, stay up for till midnight, I'm going to get some extra sleep. So I'm just going to get sleep.
Sleep. Solid.
That is a
Seems
great
so
That's a
basic,
simple but
but it
effective
is.
answer.
I hate that you just poached me. I was like, okay, if Kayla takes fishing, I'm going to go to sleep. And then you
I just gutted you.
I did not even have sleep on my board, but that's a great pick.
because that's definitely what I'd be doing. I'd be
know.
sleeping.
Pretty
It's a really good pick. Okay. These are all good options. I'm going to go something a little bit unorthodox, perhaps. During football season, I order so much delivery food that if you're watching football, odds are you're getting wings, pizza, or some kind of, Uber Eats, DoorDash situation. I'm just going to say cook. I cook a lot more in the off season when there's not sports on because
Great.
I'm willing to take a half hour to put together a recipe and actually make dinner versus just it's Thursday night football, so we're ordering pizza or whatever else. So it's another simple pick, but the best thing to do when there's not sports on is just to cook dinner. There you
Love
go.
it.
My third pick.
Grill out. There's a lot of different ways to do
Absolutely.
it, too. Damn, I got back-to-backs here, and you guys have wiped my board off. So I guess I hate being generic. I want to come in and be more specific.
Sure.
But the outdoorsiness and the pressure of not having to watch a game, not having to know what's going on. So I'll be specific. What I would like to do is go kayaking.
I love it.
Oh, nice.
Dude, when you go kayaking, your hands are free too. Because if you go, there's like an obligation when you take a boat out. You're like, I got to get in the water. I got to get wet fingers. You can't smoke with wet fingers. You can't have a soggy cigarette when you're out in the water. So the kayak gives you the ability to stay dry and also be in the water.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go kayak with my first pick. And lastly, if you've got to burn 3 months, there is no better thing to do. No better way to pass time than joining a cult. So my final pick is going to be join a cult.
My gosh.
Look, I'm saying May comes around and you're like, oh man, what am I supposed to do? Go live on someone's homestead. Maybe it's like Wanderlust and they're naked the whole time. Who am I to say? I'm not telling you guys.
A series up on Hulu or something.
I'm not telling you guys what kind of cult to join. But what I am saying is you will be amazed at how much time passes.
Oh,
how many of your
gosh.
family members reach out to you? How many people are like, hey, man, I've got a birthday this weekend. Are you coming? Nope. Working on the cult. So my final pick, join a cult.
Oh, my gosh. See, just when I think I know what direction you're going with things, it's like
My board was eviscerated.
left field.
Oh my God.
I you know what? I respect it. Whatever you want to do.
With my, I can't. With my last pick, I'm going to say something that I hope Titans players are doing. I hope that football players are still doing at this point. Film study. Because what's the best thing to do when there's no live football on? Rewatch old football.
Woo!
And there are so many YouTube videos out there of games that I went to when I was a kid. I was at the 5-overtime Tennessee win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa in 2003. Please do not ask me a follow-up question on whether or not that was the last time Tennessee won in Tuscaloosa, because yes, that's correct, and no, I don't want to talk about it. You rewatch old games. ESPN Classic used to be great for this. Now it's just the SEC Network takeover day. Like when Tennessee's game to beat LSU and win the SEC tournament this year is shown again on a random day in July, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to watch probably the entire thing all over again while I do work in the background and get ready for a broadcast of some sort. So rewatching old football games will be my fourth and final pick.
That's a great answer. There's some games that, and I'm sure everyone has one of these. Maybe this is a question of the day. For one day, there is a game that when it comes on, you will watch the whole thing. Kind of like when Training Day is on. When Training Day is on television, I will watch the whole thing. It could be if Training Day is on at 9:30 at night. Don't let me near the television because I will watch King Kong. Ain't got nothing. I will watch to that point. I will watch the whole thing.
Yep.
I can't help it.
I've done that before too.
All right, Kayla, final pick. Mr. Relevant.
And look, this might be a simple answer in the way of it is broad, but you can look at it as whatever you want to do in this situation. Because one thing that I can't do a lot of, and especially when I was in local sports TV, was I could never take vacation, more than like 2 days of vacation when it came to the major sports season. And when there aren't a lot of sports happening, that is the one time, even maybe if you're just a person who watches sports, you're willing to take that time off. And I'm talking about like more than 2 days. Maybe you take that time off to get married. Maybe you take that time off to actually pay attention to your kids or your pet. That's in my case. So you take vacation.
I like it.
Can't believe that lasted long. I should have thought about that.
I thought about just going to the beach or like going to the lake.
And that's what I'm saying. You can do whatever you want with that vacation.
100%.
Dadgummit, dude. Every week I'm like, I don't care. And then Kayla has a great draft. I'm like, I care. I care.
All right, honorable undrafteds. I had clean.
Yeah.
Literally just like catch up on cleaning.
Yeah.
I would watch Cheyenne clean.
Which probably says more about me is that I should probably be doing that more during busy season. Reading.
Okay.
I don't read enough books.
Something else.
I've recently got on audio books, which is I think is lazy, but it's better than having to order them. I don't have a Kindle sitting around. You know what I mean? So
quickly, your best undrafted.
Working out.
That was on my list too. Go to the gym.
Dang, dude, y'all had way better.
Go for a hike.
A cult. Like, What?
Home improvement projects?
Dude.
Something you've been putting off for a while?
Gardening. Okay, that's mine. I'm picking gardening up.
That's your
I like
undrafted.
that.
All right. 615-737-1045. Give us your best things to do when sports aren't on. We should answer that question Bert asked, though, coming back. What is the one thing on TV that if you find it, you will always sit and just watch the entire thing? Let's do that coming up next. Hey, what's going on? It is Will Bowling here from my friends at Lee Company. Hey, are you looking to check some items off your home to-do list? We were just talking about that. Great time to do that here in the spring and summer. And maybe you're just looking to freshen up your home's look before you host friends and family for a cookout. You've got areas of the house that common areas might need some freshening up a little bit for company coming over. Well, available 24/7, 365, the Lee Company home improvement professionals have you covered. From pressure washing your driveway or deck to drywall repairs to landscape lighting, painting, and more, Lee Company is all you need. And you got to contact them today, 615-567-1000, or visit them online at leecompany.com to schedule your appointment. That's leecompany.com for all your home improvement needs this summer, 615-567-1000. Let the Lee Company team of professionals take care of all of it for you. That's Lee Company. All you need. So Robert Walsh, before the break, asked a great question. That was after he chose on the draft of things to do with those sports on joining a cult.
Mm-hmm.
Redeemed himself. But the question of what is one thing on TV you will always watch when it is on? And guys, this is kind of a dying art. Ramon, Caitlin, Will, RKW, 615-737-1045. Gone are the days of just going to like the TV Guide channel.
Sure.
I'm probably even, like, I'm sure there were days before that where you just looked in the paper or in the TV Guide magazine of what was on at what time. But like Channel 50, TV Guide. Oh, this movie's on. The Dark Knight's on. Let me go watch it. What is one thing on TV you will always watch when it is on? For me, any replay of the 2022 Tennessee-Alabama game, I will 100% sit down there and watch as much of it as I have time to watch.
Ooh.
Every time.
So you're going with a game.
I'm going with Tennessee-Bama 2022 because it gets replayed all the time because it was such a good game.
I will always usually find myself, I'll have two, because around Halloween, we usually get the Halloween movies that always are somewhere in the mix. And I will usually turn it on to the Halloween movie. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of it, towards the end. I just love the Halloween movies. Now, mostly the first original one with Jamie Lee Curtis. But that's one I'll always do. And then for some reason, damn Family Feud gets me every time. Nice. Every freaking night.
Fair enough.
I get done cooking dinner. We're like, oh, there's nothing on TV if it's a slow part of the day, or season like we are in now. And I'll turn it to, the Game Channel or the Game Network.
I like it.
Or BET, and there'll be Family Feud on, and then I sit and continue to binge it.
I like it. Let's go to the phones. A lot of you wanting to chime in on this. 615-737-1045. Could be a game, could be a TV show, could be a movie. Let's start with Joey in Cross Plains. What's up, Joey?
Good morning, Caleb, Will. So, it's a good question, and mine is either, triple D's or triple G's. Flipping through and hit Food Network and catch one of those two shows. And then, of course, me not being able to see, I'll listen on what the ingredients are, and then I'll work my courage. And if it's nothing too elaborate, like I'll work my courage up so I don't burn the house down, and I'll try, making some of that stuff. But, yeah, those are the two that I can't pass up anytime.
I
like
that.
it.
There is not one show that makes me hungrier than Diners, Drive-Ins, and
so good.
Yes.
God, dude, he makes everything look so good, and he takes the nastiest, sloppiest bites of everything. It makes me just want to dive in.
Let's go to Dano up next. What's up, Dano?
Morning. I've got two TV shows I'll sit and watch all day long. Forged in Fire and How It's Made.
Okay.
You guys ever seen How It's Made before?
No.
They'll break
I've never heard of
down.
this.
Oh God, man, it is fascinating. It'll be like golf balls, and they'll take you through the entire process of making golf balls or toaster, whatever it is. Each episode will have different things. Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's inventions, but it's so cool.
Dano, what channel do these things come on?
I'm just surfing and I'll see them pop up. I don't pay attention to what channel it's on a lot. But as far as movies that I can't pass up if I'm scrolling and they're on, Twister and the original Jurassic Park.
Oh, the original Jurassic for the win.
Which one is the one where the dinosaur poops out the dude's phone?
That's not the original.
I think that's 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's
I could
not the
be
original.
wrong.
Honestly, all of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, the ultimate show you will get hooked on just in an instant is Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shark
I
Tank.
will always say, like, well, but maybe I will stick around after the break and see if he gets $100,000 and a 20%
I'll
stake.
do it too.
That's another good question. What's the shows you can fall asleep to? Because I feel like that's pretty open
Bob Ross
too.
painting.
Oh, when they added that to Netflix, that had to be a huge boost. And like these people have been watching Bob Ross for 7 hours.
Huge boost in mental health around the country. Let's go to Alexander in Hendersonville. What's up, Alexander?
What's going on, guys? Watch the show every day. Absolutely love it.
Thank you.
I'm from the Pacific Northwest too, Caleb, so love to hear you shout out the Northwest.
Let's go.
I watch Andy Griffin every time it's on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Love that show. Easy to watch. Kind of just zone out and love it.
It's a good one.
I like it.
It's a real good one.
Our friend Brent Hubbs, who will join us tomorrow, probably shares that same pick with you as a big Andy Griffith fan.
you got to love that we have those shows still intact that they can syndicate and rerun. Like, what would we do without some of those shows?
I know. The Office for me. You guys know I've watched The Office probably 20 total times.
Big one.
We'll continue this coming up next. We've got loaded phone lines on what is the one thing you will always watch, game or non-game. We'll start with David after the break. 615-737-1045 with the fourth hour already upon us. Coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster here for Artisan Custom Closets. Y'all, summer is here. Well, at least the summer events are, where you're in and out of the house each and every weekend. You got toys coming in. You got suitcases that you just drop in there and just water coolers. I'll tell you what, my mud room and garage look like I've been out of town and I need somebody to come over and organize it. So I'll definitely be hitting up Artisan Custom Closets, all right? But here's what they can do. They can transform your garage and outdoor space into a space of calm and organization with Artisan Custom Closets. You got to say goodbye to the clutter and hello to custom storage solutions that are made to suit you, your style, and your budget. From your closet, garage, or office space, let the expert designers at Artisan Custom Closet help you get organized in any space in your home, from walk-in closets to pantry to garages or laundry rooms. Cool thing about Artisan is this: they're local. It's not a large chain business, but not only is it local, but their products are manufactured right here in the Southeast. And it's not a cookie cutter process also. It's customized to fit your home. Go ahead and start with a free in-house design consultation, all right, and take advantage of the multiple financing options and make getting organized easier than ever. You can reach out to them at 615-800-2199 or go to artisancustomclosets.com.
Oh, that's right.
9:02. Well, in a second. By the time y'all hear this, it'll probably be 9:02. What's going on? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The number one team in the country headed to the Men's College World Series final. Tennessee's offense was clicking. Pitching was pretty good, too, as the Vols defeated Florida State 7-2, eliminate the Seminoles, and advance to the college baseball final for the first time since 1951. It only took them 3 batters to take the lead in Wednesday's contest, and the Vols didn't give it back for the rest of the game. They scored 3 runs in the first inning and led by 5 by the end of the third. Over the holiday, Titans didn't add anyone to the roster, but they made their interest known in USFL Defensive Player of the Year, Breland Speaks, along with the Carolina Panthers. Speaks is a former second-round pick by the Kansas City Chiefs out of Ole Miss. He was listed as a defensive tackle, but plays outside more often than not, notching over 50 tackles and 9 sacks, which led the USFL in the category. And June 26th, next Wednesday. If you don't have plans, now you do. Come hang out with me and the rest of the gang. RKW 3HL will be out there. Blaine Bishop will be out there. Come say hello. We'd love to have you. Plenty of food, drinks, and games, and chances to win tickets, VIP tickets, tomorrow. You just got to listen for your cue to call. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show, 9 a.m. on your Friday junior edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW right here on The Zone with Kayla Anderson and Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. Ramon Foster somewhere in the South listening to us, taking offense with some of our picks in the RKW Draft that we just did a half hour ago. And joining us in 15 minutes, ESPN play-by-play broadcaster Mike Monaco will stop by. He has been on the call for all 3 of Tennessee's wins in Omaha at the College World Series. Vols and Aggies in the College World Series Championship Series. Somebody will have their first ever baseball national championship. And Mike Monaco is very familiar with both teams.
Yes, he is.
If y'all had to guess how many games you think it takes, whoever's going to win, how many you think it takes? 3?
It'll do 3, yeah.
Tennessee in 3.
Yeah, I'll do Tennessee in 3, too.
I think Xander Sechrist's arm on Monday would end up making the difference.
I agree. But I think for everybody's benefit, why not make it 3? I want to get the most out of it. I know, not Vols fans. They're like, just let us get it done.
Sweat it out, man.
I will say, though, there is an inclination to be stressed. There's an inclination to worry about the worst-case scenario. If you're a Vols fan, you just got to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Like, don't go into it with the negative, how is this going to go wrong? I think this team has earned the right for you to go into this series saying, how is this going to go right?
Sure.
How are they going to pull this off? How are they going to figure out a way to win their first national championship and their second ever appearance in a championship series? I really need us. I need Vols fans to please don't give me the here we go again. Right? Like, this team is not the same, like, gonna choke in Omaha, not like stage is too bright, lights are too bright. Like, if they lose to A&M, it'll probably just be because A&M's a really good team and anything can happen in the sport of baseball. Like, I don't want to get the whole, like, oh, Tennessee chokes again, like, from Tennessee fans or non-Tennessee fans. Like, this is the best team in the country. If they lose, it's because they lost to a good team. If they win, it's because they're the best team in the country. Let's just get that out of the way first.
And that's the thing that sucks about it, because this is, without any other metric, a great season for Tennessee. If they don't win it or not, like, technically there is only one team, if you're looking at it that way, who doesn't choke. Right? And that's so lame. That's so lame to look at. But I get it. Everybody's like, did you get a trophy? Did you win something? But, like, they had a great year. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm off my soapbox.
You gotta enjoy it, man. Tennessee's playing for a national championship. For a lot of us, we've only had one of those in our lifetimes, and it was when I was 1. So you gotta enjoy these. All right, let's go to the phones, because Bert asked the question in hour 3. What is one thing on TV that you will always stop and watch anytime you see it? TV show, movie, sporting event. Kayla goes with the Halloween movies or Family Feud. I'm saying 2022 Tennessee-Alabama replay or Shark Tank would be the one that I will always stop on and watch. Let's go to David in Lebanon, who is up next on this. What's up, David?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
First of all, I love you guys, but I love how y'all close ranks when somebody is not there or whatever. Because I really enjoy that too. But anyway, my show is the Outlaw Josie Wales, and my son, he'll walk through the room and he says, "Are you kidding me? You've seen that 100 times." But I don't know what it is. It's just, I guess Clint Eastwood saying, "I reckon so." I don't know. I just love it. But love you guys, and y'all just keep it up.
Thank you, David. Appreciate the call.
Have the impression.
I like it. Mm-hmm. Clint Eastwood always.
Very good. Clint Eastwood,
gets the people going.
He's a bad you-know-what.
I watched The Mule on the flight back, and it was so good.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go to Andy in South Nashville, wanting to weigh in on our draft on best things to do with no sports on. What's up, Andy?
Good. 3 things since I've been listening to what you'd watch when it's on.
Yeah.
Dodgeball. Every time that movie's on, I don't know where it is, you got to stop and watch. So many classic lines,
Yes.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see what happens.
Hold the phone. She's got a cannon.
If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball, Andy.
Exactly. As far as the thing that I'm surprised wasn't drafted for summer is going to the pool.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great pick.
All the time growing up.
That's a great pick.
Yes.
And then my last thing is, you guys going into the show have a reopen where Kayla's talking about something being cheeks or double cheeks. Well, Robert last week talking about having a thong. That's double cheeks.
Yes.
Maybe triple.
Yes.
Hold on,
Andy with a great call.
That was as soon as Tuesday as we did that. But Andy, you're getting lost in the weekend like I am, having yesterday off. We brought out the cheeks on Tuesday. Robert did.
Let's go to June in Lebanon, who is up next. What's up, June? June,
Hello?
you there? Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay. It's Jim. But anyway, now my go-to is going to be like next month when the Olympics are on. Anytime the Olympics come on, I don't even care if it's a backstory. They do such a great job. NBC, kudos to them, by the way. They do such a great job on the Olympics, even with the backstories and all these elite athletes from all over the world. And I just know this. And my knowledge of mundane sports like curling or speed walking will be a lot better after I watch NBC and the Olympics.
I love it.
I mean, the Olympics are the best.
That's good.
I love it. Thank you, June.
Coming up in August.
That's
End
right.
of July.
They will be here soon. We also need to do a draft of best Olympic sports.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Number 1 Olympic sport. Go.
Man, gymnastics, baby. Gymnastics.
You know what I'm going to say.
Swimming? Track and
What
field.
I'm going to say, yeah, track and field.
Sorry.
He stole mine. I would watch anything. He said curling. I don't know why.
Curling is my favorite winter one.
Fascinated by curling, but you could put nonsensical sports in this too. Like if there was something like horse slapping, I would be like, all right, count me in. Or bring back jousting. Like if they put jousting in the Olympics, all in.
What are we, medieval times?
It doesn't matter to me what's on. They're like, oh, we've got a pie eating contest followed by a water gun fight. I'm like, all right, I'm in. Hell with it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Isn't there like sailing and stuff like that? Like,
yeah.
I think
yeah. Sailing, rowing.
Yeah.
Kayaking.
Ooh, that'd be a Robert.
Because that's where the Olympics have been in the state of Tennessee. Because the Ocoee was the kayaking location for the Atlanta games. So you can do, when you go whitewater rafting on the Ocoee, you can do the Olympic course. It is
that's kind of neat.
It's sick. It's actually really cool. Eric in Nashville up next. What's up, Eric?
Hey, guys. I am 60 years old, so a lot of the stuff on TV today I don't particularly too much care for.
Okay.
I'm a child of the late 60s throughout the 70s, and growing up, my favorite things were cartoons. Mm-hmm. And, of course, my favorites, of course, Hanna-Barbera was the one that made the most cartoons I like. There's too many names, so I'm not going through that. But if I had to pick one, it was the classic Looney Tunes. And I'm talking about Buzz, Elmer, and Daffy are probably one of my favorites. I hated Tweety. I wish Sylvester would eat him because his little voice was so annoying. No Speedy Gonzales. I know it's bad to say. But if I had to pick, it's between two, Roadrunner and Coyote. But my all-time favorite character, of course, is Pepe Le Pew, especially when he was chasing after, I guess they call him.
Wait, didn't he get canceled?
He shouldn't have been, but he's still my favorite. But I love the way he talks, especially when he say stuff like, poems are made of fools like me, and I always got E's and G's. The way he talks, it's just so hilarious. Guys, y'all take care of what's on Tuesday.
Thank you, Eric.
Goodness, that was great.
Cancel to Eric.
No, you're not going to cancel. Yeah. They should bring him back, make him the voice.
We got time for one more. Let's go to CP on a show you always watch when it's on. What's up?
Hey, first off, I want to say go Vols. My
Love
show's going to be, I can't turn it off. It's going to be Seinfeld and movie-wise, Christmas Vacation.
Great picks. Great picks. Thank you, CP.
That's a good one, CP. That's why I drafted Clark Griswold as one of my best dads, because if you've seen those movies, man, he tries hard.
European Vacation got my butt beat one time because I was not supposed to be watching it because there's nudity in that movie.
There is.
And my mom was like, well, what's Clark Griswold doing on in here? Poor Clark. I feel like he gets antagonized by the most beautiful women. A real man. He stands by his marriage. He's not always ready to hop off with the first woman selling stuff in the mall, you know.
That was the original, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the original.
Nice.
So good.
I love it. Coming up next, ESPN play-by-play broadcaster Mike Monaco has followed Tennessee through Hoover in the SEC tournament. He has been on the call for all three of Tennessee's wins at the College World Series in Omaha, and he will join us coming up next.
Have you ever had to deal with mold in your crawl space? Well, let me tell you something. It's expensive and gets worse and more expensive the longer you let it grow. Well, my friends at USS can help with big discounts right now to fix your mold problem. It's Ramon Foster, and United Structural Systems is offering you $500 off crawl space mold treatment, and that's a great deal considering USS is the most trusted and experienced crawl space repair company in Middle Tennessee. Now they have a 3-step process to deal with mold in your crawl space. It's called RTE. That's R for remove the active growth, T, treat the area where it's growing, and E, encapsulate the crawl space to ensure that it does not come back. One-time payment, that's it, baby. It's done, all right? That's a great way to deal with mold, considering they're offering you $500 off, which means it's more affordable when you call USS. You can find them online at USSTN.com, but also remember to tell them the Ramon deal, where you get $500 off when you use USS. Call them also, 615-488-7855.
Hour number 4 continues here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster has the day off with Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling. And joining us, he has been a very busy man in Omaha on the play-by-play call for all of Tennessee's games at the College World Series. ESPN's Mike Monaco giving us a couple of minutes here this morning. Mike, first of all, I don't know how you've slept. I don't know how any of you guys have any time other than watching baseball, but tip of the cap to you and to the entire crew at ESPN. You guys have crushed it all week. It's been really fun following along all these games.
Oh, thanks a lot, Will. Yes, appreciate you guys having me on and saying that. We love doing this event, and that's from the people you hear on air, the voices like mine you're stuck with, but the people behind the camera as well. It's a really unique event, as any Tennessee fan would know who's been out here before. So it's a ton of fun, and yeah, the games have lived up to it.
Well, Mike, you have been kind of the official, unofficial television voice of Tennessee baseball through these College World Series games. You've known all the storylines about this team. As you look at this group going into this weekend against Texas A&M, what is your favorite story about this Tennessee baseball team that stands out to you the most from the time you spent around them?
It's a great question. I think the biggest and probably most important one as it relates to the program and the strength of it and all that, I would say it's in the context of what these last 4 years have been like and how this is the team in some ways after the team. 2022 was a super team, and in some ways unlike anything we had seen before in this sport. But it's not always that team that punches through, either to the championship series or if the Vols do win it all, that ends up winning the national title. But this team is supremely talented, just like that one. I think, Tony Vitello and some players have said this. They have a maturity about them as well. It's a really fun group. So I think big picture, that's probably my favorite. And then I think on an individual level, I would go either the direction of Xander Sechrist and Kirby Connell and their friendship, or Christian Moore, and just how good he's playing right now and just how much he has risen in draft rankings and all that over the course of the season, but in particular in this 1 week here so far in Omaha as well.
ESPN play-by-play voice Mike Monaco, our guest. I know the time you've been able to spend with Tony Vitello as well. It's interesting, the conversation locally here is kind of about his evolution. And when you talk to him, he'll tell you, I am who I am, and things don't really change over time. And he's, in a lot of ways, kind of an old-fashioned guy. But how have you seen him adjust to the personality of this team and evolve over time in the conversations you've had with him?
Yeah, I think he, physically, what you see is probably a little more measured than what you would have seen maybe a couple years ago. I think he's adapted really well. And I mean, the pitching, first and foremost, and he said this the other day, one of the best things he does is just let Frank Anderson do his thing. But I think that can't really get lost in the story of this season. The lineup hits a ton of home runs, and there's a ton of depth in the lineup, and it feels like everyone is doing it and contributing to that. But the pitching, they've done it in a way. Frank Anderson told us, he has never structured his pitching in this way, and there's really no comparison for him, even for as long and as at a high level as he's coached before. Stamos and Kazi, that's unique. First of all, it's 2 transfers, and it's not these blue chip transfers, an outgoing Chase Burns type situation. But they've pieced it together on Fridays, and they've made that work. They've aligned Drew Beam on Saturdays. Xander Sechrist won his job. Chris Burke and I were talking about this yesterday, off air and then on air. A sidebar, if A.J. Russell doesn't get hurt, Xander Sechrist probably isn't pitching in the weekend rotation, and he's been their best starting pitcher in the last, month and a half. So they've just been really adaptable. I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say as it relates to Tony Vitello with this year's group.
Mike Monaco of ESPN, he has been on the call for the Vols in Omaha, and one of the most incredible, exciting ways to start this College World Series was last Friday when obviously the Vols had the huge comeback and Christian Moore hit for the cycle, just the second cycle ever at the Men's College World Series. Mike, you were there on the call. Just describe that moment and why he has really been able to lift his draft stock.
Yeah, it was a special moment. First of all, a cycle is incredible wherever, however you do it. But the fact that it was only the second, like you said, Kayla, is really impressive. And then just like the ball striking, like we talk about that maybe in golf, but the exit velocity with which he was hitting, like everything was smoked. And nothing bigger than the home run to center field, which you don't see home runs hit that way to that part of the ballpark in Omaha when the wind's doing what it does very often in Omaha. So that was really impressive. How's he done it? How's he risen his draft stock? Man, he's just kind of done everything well. Like they're really, if you look at like a heat map of what pitches he struggles with, like the only spot is up and in, and we've still seen him get hits on pitches there over the course of this week. And he's really gotten better at hitting breaking balls as well. I've talked to him about that. It wasn't like a focus for him, but the numbers really support that. So I think it speaks to probably pitch recognition. Yeah, I mean, he's as hot as any hitter there was here, and probably was that way really once SEC play started. So he's been doing it now for basically 3 months, and I'll be very curious to see how high he goes in our ESPN mock draft that came out yesterday from our insider, Kylie McDaniel. He had him going 12th to the Red Sox, and I think that's, totally within reason.
Speaking of the SEC, are you at all shocked by the fact that here we are this week and this weekend again for the second straight year, we're going to have an all SEC final with Texas A&M and Tennessee this time compared to last year it was LSU and Florida?
I'm not shocked by it, but I will say it's one of the biggest talking points around here from baseball folks. And, I cover in the regular season a lot of ACC regular season baseball games. And this was an incredible year for the ACC, not just sending 4 teams here. Like it was a really deep conference. They put a bunch of teams, I think 8 in the NCAA tournament. It's not 11 like the SEC, it's not the same gaudy numbers, but they had a huge year. But I think there are people here now saying, all right, like where are we at? Like where do other conferences, not just the ACC, go in relation to here? Because look, it's 3 of the last 4 years. It's the last 2, like you said, 3 of the last 4 that it's been all SEC. So 7 of the last 8 teams that have played for a title are currently in the SEC. And the other one, Oklahoma, 2 years ago against Ole Miss, they're joining the conference officially in 11 days. So I do think there's a concern, from other conferences of like, hey, how do we make sure we carve out our spot? I think in looking at the ACC as a whole, I think so many of the games here could have gone differently, that it's not as alarming as the SEC being 5-0 against the ACC would make it look. But it certainly, raises some eyebrows. And again, like we find ourselves in this position again. But I think the ACC really has grown in the last few years. But yeah, man, like SEC dominance is real right now in this sport.
It hurts me, Mike, because I'm a Pac-12 girl. So you can imagine the feelings now for me. Yeah, exactly. It's like I said, there's a lot of chatter out here about that, and the SEC has really put a stranglehold on college baseball.
ESPN's Mike Monaco is our guest on the play-by-play call for all of Tennessee's games so far through the College World Series. So, Mike, as you look at the matchup between the teacher and the assistant, Jim Schlossnagel and Tony Vitello, a fascinating a piece of storylines there between the Vols and the Aggies. What is the X factor in this matchup from the perspective of someone who knows these teams really well? Where will this series be won or lost, in your opinion?
It's a good question. I think A&M pitching, because of what they've endured injury-wise and being without Shane Sadeo, who in the Super Regional was their Game 2 starter, they've had to shuffle things. And then with obviously the Braden Montgomery injury, the lineup has lost a ton of power from him, ton of production all around, and there's guys hitting in different spots. But I think it does come down to the pitching. Like Justin Lampkin has stepped up for them in a huge way. Guy who had logged a lot of innings, but hadn't pitched a ton recently, and now has stepped up on 2 occasions now and really pitched well, both times against Florida. How well does Chris Cortez pitch whenever he goes in the finals? He obviously had a short stint last night, couldn't rein it in, but that's a premier talent. He's been really good this season. They've changed how he's throwing his fastball and has made that pitch way better. His slider is in the zone a lot more. So he's a premium arm. I think it comes down to kind of what you get there. And then, if you're Tennessee, you hope that the Stamos-Kazi combo goes a little bit better than it did last Friday against Florida State. And I think the evidence over the course of the season would back that up and make you feel confident about that. But that's kind of where my mind goes first, is to A&M pitching.
And Mike, we've talked a lot too about the Tennessee pitching depth and a lot of the youth they have, and Dylan Loy and Marcus Phillips, and maybe the best time to knock Tennessee out was before the championship series. Maybe not as much of an opportunity to expose that weakness now if you're A&M this weekend. If you're trying to pinpoint one weakness or one shortcoming in this Tennessee team, is there one that stands out at this point for the Vols?
It's a good question. I mean, not really. Like, they're that good. And I almost feel like we've undersold in some ways just how dominant a number one is, because it was so open this year, because so many different teams spent time as the number one ranked team in the country, like in contrast to the last 2 years. Like 22 was all Vols, like all them number one all season, super team, like we said. Last year was so much Wake Forest and LSU grabbing the headlines. This year was a little more wide open. I think maybe we've undersold just how dominant they've been and just how well they stack up among the best teams. But yeah, I mean, I guess, bullpen wise, but man, like, Nate Snead looked really good, pitched in 3 games here. And Kirby Connell, like, you know what you're going to get from him. And Xander Sechrist, like we said, like in the 3 spot, man, like he was just dotting his pitches wherever he wanted to go. And yeah, he gave up a couple of home runs, but he was outstanding again. I guess I would say probably getting off to a good start whenever the Stamos-Kazi pairing goes, assuming that is, game 1, keeping them online. I think, that probably right now is the only blemish that they've had. The defense was a little bit shaky to start the first Florida State game, but man, they've defended really well since then, obviously, especially in the outfield with the catches we've seen. So I guess, yeah, if you got to nitpick, it's probably that game 1 pitching role. But again, like track record says, it's been very effective.
Mike, on the opposite side, I know there's been a little bit of talk of, while they are 3-0 right now in Omaha, of the injuries with Texas A&M. Would you say that's probably maybe the one weak point with them coming into the series?
Yeah, I mean, you would obviously love to have those guys. It's good to see Jace Laviolette could play last night for him. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Like, but at the same time, everyone's dealing with injuries. Like, A.J. Russell happened to just, mostly get injured at a different time than Braden Montgomery. But, yeah, it's one of the best pitchers. It's opening day starter. It's, for Texas A&M, superstar right fielder. But, yeah, you would love to have those guys. It's a really good lineup. It's super patient. It's a veteran group. Really productive bats up and down that order. Star power with Laviolette, with the freshman Gavin Grahovac, the SEC freshman of the year. You got veterans in the middle and at the top of the lineup, guys like Jackson Appel, Ted Burton, Hayden Schott. Those were veteran transfers they added to the mix. And then, yeah, it's a question of kind of what they get pitching-wise. And Cortez, he's been really good. And Evan Aschenbeck is, the national reliever of the year, the national stopper of the year. So there's a lot of good pieces there. But, yeah, they'd certainly feel even better about their chances if they had Cedeo and Montgomery.
Mike, now the hard-hitting question. So I've been to Omaha covering Vanderbilt. What a phenomenal place. What a special place. And you can't help but to run into everybody, right, when you're going out to dinner or lunch, wherever it might be. So in your opinion, with all the fans you've run into this past week and weekend, how have the Vols fans treated you? Because I know they are winning the Rocco's Jello shot challenge right now.
They've been awesome. We're not too far from their hotel, their team hotel. So very often we see their kind of send-off parties and post-game parties and that sort of thing. If we're headed back to our hotel and headed out to grab a bite to eat or anything like that. But you're so right. Like, it is a really welcoming place here. And if you've never been, I really would encourage you to go. This is my 3rd year here. And people had told me, like, hey, even just as a sports fan, not as a broadcaster, like, you got to go out there. And it's absolutely the case. It's family. It's just sports fandom. It's a laid back feel. It's, a supportive atmosphere of, like, people you're not necessarily the longtime fans of one team or another. It's a pretty awesome vibe out here.
Mike, on the way out, man, it is so evident just how much you enjoy calling college baseball games and love the sport. You mentioned that you get to do a lot of games during the season on the ACC side. The television numbers of viewership for the College World Series have been incredible. For the super regional, records all over the place. As this sport continues to grow and more eyeballs are on the sport of college baseball, what is the biggest reason you feel like for the success of the sport right now, and how much more growth is out there over the next couple of years, in your opinion?
It's a great question. I don't know the biggest reason. I know there's many reasons.
Sure.
And one of them, I would say, is the increased talent in the sport. And because of, minor league baseball getting rid of some minor league teams, or Major League Baseball, I should say, getting rid of some minor league teams, because of the draft being shorter, you have more talent coming to college instead of going to single A, in pro baseball. And then I think technology has helped it as well. Like, we have smarter pitchers, we have smarter hitters, we have them better conditioned and stronger than they've ever been. We have, along with that, like, technology providing access to do more broadcasts, to do broadcast cooler, to stream so many games. Like, basically everyone's games are streamed now somewhere if they're not on TV, and we've got a ton on TV. So I think that goes into it, and I think there's still a lot more room for growth. Like, it's a fun sport. And yeah, it's putting up crazy numbers, regional rounds, super regional, and here in Omaha, the ratings have been awesome. So I still think there's a long way it can go.
ESPN's Mike Monaco has been our guest. Mike, I know we said it off the top, man. You guys crushed it all week, and we are fans for sure. Really great job. And next time you see the Tennessee Orange, we may be calling you up again. We really appreciate the time.
Guys, thanks for having me. Appreciate the kind words.
Thanks,
yes, sir.
Mike.
There he is, Mike Monaco, with us here this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And I know I said it to him a minute ago, but you can tell the guy loves college baseball.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good nugget on just the growth of a sport right now, that with NIL is going to have a lot more players out of high school choose to be college baseball players than single A and double A rookie ball major league draftees.
And they do a good job too. Their coverage, of telling the stories, Chris Budden, of telling the stories of these players, and the personalities have shined too in the past couple of years. You continue to want to see that grow.
Absolutely. I think they've done a terrific job. And Saturday night, 6:30, the General Neyland Classic. Considering Robert Neyland played baseball at Texas A&M, and then obviously is Tennessee's best coach of all time, and won 4 national championships.
It's pretty fun
in football. Goodness, it's going to be awesome. So good info from Mike there. I like what he said about the weaknesses. And he's the one right there watching him. He was like, there's literally no weakness on this Tennessee baseball team.
He had to really dig, which credit to him for finding something,
Right. It's crazy. I just can't imagine from the play-by-play broadcaster perspective, like calling all of those games, because they get basically a 12-hour media day where they do nonstop meetings for 12 straight hours, or 10 straight hours, or whatever it is, on the first day they're there.
Yeah.
And then basically just have to bank all of that info in 2 days, and then call the whole tournament. And you're just ready to see every team, and you're prepped on every team.
To cover one team well when I went, that was one thing. And we barely had time to sleep and eat. To cover that many teams, and I know it's in a different way.
Sure.
But that's really a tough job that I don't know if they get as much credit as they should.
No, because I think it would be people would think it's kind of a, call the game, go hang out, sit by the pool, do whatever. It is the second you get done with one game, you're prepping for the next for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of late nights and early mornings. So good stuff from Mike with us. 615-737-1045, our number. We'll get you a developing college football story coming out. Coaches have voted down one proposed change in the college football calendar. We've got that for you next. Wrapping up the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW with the Buck Rising Show on deck. Lots of big-time guests on the station today.
Woo!
Will
Take
Levis,
a day off and look what happens.
I know. Will Levis is in studio from 3 to 4.
Ooh.
You have got Tennessee first baseman Blake Burke, who is going to join the Buck Rising Show today at 11:20. How about that?
Nice.
Not bad at all. Big day for Lucas Panzica, by the way, if you see him in the hallway. Italy takes on Spain today in the European Championships. That is at 2 p.m. on, I believe, Fox. That is appointment viewing for me this afternoon. If Spain is able to get the better of the Azzurri, just be nice to Lucas today.
Yes.
Big one.
Be supportive of our guy.
So if I was going to
please.
talk trash to him, what would I say?
That's a good question. Well, honestly, you could do what the Albanian fans did. Did you
Break
see this over the
pasta?
weekend? They took a big thing of spaghetti in front of the
great.
Italian fans and they broke it in half.
That is hilarious.
So if you just bring in some linguine or like maybe some angel hair pasta before it's been cooked and just break it in half of them and just watch them. The pasta.
Just mix cheese and seafood together.
that's right.
Like, oh, look what we do in America. Yeah. Sure, he'll love that.
That's pretty good.
I love it. Yeah, same, honestly. Some college football news this morning. Pete Thamel writes that the Collegiate Commissioners Association took a straw vote yesterday that voted down a June signing period in college football. They are expected to confirm that notion today. That will leave 2 recruiting signing periods, February and then the week prior to the conference title games. Apparently, coaches in Tennessee are as outspoken about this as anyone. This is interesting. Pete Thamel added high school coaches in states like Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia were outspoken against adding a signing day in June. The June window would have begun in June of 2025 for the class of 2026. I'd be interested to know why high school football coaches here are against it.
Me too. I mean, the only thing that I can see that correlates with those is because it's the South and it's the best place to recruit and it's the best football. What is the exact reasoning for that? That's a great question.
If you're a high school football
Call
coach,
in.
let us know, honestly. 615-737-1045.
I mean, I don't know. To me, I'm cool with it, them voting it down.
Yeah. I'm kind of indifferent. I mean,
really?
I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I feel like you already have so many guys committing in June that you're not forced to. And if you feel like you're a late bloomer or you're just now getting your first opportunity to start, like no one's making you commit, but like why not at least have the option? I don't know.
I'm so old school too, Will, because I remember when I covered college, high school football, college football in my first years of broadcasting, the only day that mattered was signing day, that one signing day, right? The big signing day. So now it's just there's so many dates, I can't even keep track. So I guess that's why I don't have an opinion on it.
It's too much. It's really too much. Yeah. A lot to catch up with. Ramon Foster has just tweeted a picture of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That is where he apparently is right now.
Tuscaloosa?
Pray for him. Ramon's in a pretty bad state right now.
What is
Alabama.
he doing in Tuscaloosa? Yeah, I did see the picture. Coleman Coliseum.
He's on the campus of a team that's not still playing baseball this year. Couldn't be my team.
I know I'm not going to have time to cut this and pull it, but you understand what you just said is also getting pulled, Kayla.
What?
What's he doing in Tuscaloosa? Will, she gave us 2 gems while you were
Let him hear him.
You're going to make me go pull these now?
That's right. You want to cut them, you're going to pull them. That's right.
Sound like my grandma in the garden. You want to cut them, you're going to pull them. Get down there with those taters. All right, somebody stall while I find
this. This is what happens when you go antiquing and you want a really nice lamp that's on a high shelf for $4.99.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to get the ladder to go get it. No, you're going to get the ladder yourself.
You're going to put in the work.
So here are Kayla's 2 submissions. These will probably be in titles one day.
Sure.
So, and this is actually something I might add to the board. So if, say you had an East Carolina Pirate on the show today, I might say that's
my boy.
That's I am the eldest. Come on now.
Boy.
Yeah. Or if Ramon will not stop talking about something that none of the rest of us give a rip about, we could play this.
This needs to die now.
Kayla has done nothing but give us out of context cuts. So now I will have to add, what's he doing in Tuscaloosa? so anytime somebody, a Vols commit maybe is visiting the Tide, you can hit them with, I'm tired of saying it.
You could add the three of them together. And say, what's my boy what's he doing in Tuscaloosa? My boy needs to die.
Oh, no.
And now I've given you all three as well.
Okay, this is going to make a super win. I'm just going to, we just need to convince Ramon to say dumber things.
Yes.
Like, y'all give great out of context things. But when Ramon gets off on tangents, like, if you'll notice, most of them are like, I hate children. Or like, it's always things that when we get him grumpy.
Kind of dark.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can get a bucket and a mop if I need to.
Yeah, right, exactly. Those are the Ramon type out of context drops. But Kayla, thank you again for your contributions today.
You are welcome, sir.
Oh, man.
We have too much fun on the show.
We really do. At Ramon Kayla Will, where you can vote on the RKW Draft. That was at 8:20 this morning on best things to do without sports. Kayla is totally running away with this. I mean, it is not even close. Kayla leads at 60% to 22%. Bert is once again in last at 18%.
I'm just thinking of Bert's answer for his last. What was it your last one?
Bert's final pick was join a cult. Great thing to do when sports aren't on. I cannot believe still that you said that. Bert also tweeted when he said this. He tweeted, "Got any good Colts? Hit me up."
I'm just saying, I need something to do.
Awful.
I need something to do.
It's incredible. I want it known, by the way, that none of you care about this, but Serbia just equalized against Slovenia in the 6 minute of stoppage time. They pulled their goalie. It just scored on a corner kick, the last kick of the game. It took everything in my power not to just scream into the microphone mid-sentence there. Oh, yeah. Slovenia, Serbia on over here. Got the European Championships on.
All I know is that Love Undercover was great, so I'm up for another season of it if they want to do it.
Will H on YouTube says, as to the June signing period, coaches don't want to start a trend of seniors opting out of their final season if they've already signed a scholarship.
Okay.
Well, that's fair.
Yep.
That's fair.
Thank you for the explanation.
A lot of times you get guys that they'll have like a halfway injury and their college team will say, hey, we need you to not play. Mm-hmm. So that's understandable. Fair enough. Tomorrow morning, Brent Hubbs will have more from Omaha.
Because it's
get
Friday.
Ready for the championship series. Because tomorrow is Friday.
Isn't that crazy?
Is it really? Oh, yeah,
tomorrow
it is.
Friday.
My goodness. Oof.
Big time stuff coming up on the Zone later today. Blake Burke at 11:20. And Will Levis, the entire 3 o'clock hour in studio with 3HL. You are not going to want to miss that. We will talk to you Friday morning, tomorrow morning. The Buck Rising Show is coming up next.
What is
Alabama.
he doing in Tuscaloosa?